you go. Unexpected, victorious Tornado Energy.
2016 Wargaming League World Champions.
Hello and welcome to the WGL APAC Season 2. We're in Week 1, day number 2, and yesterday was quite an interesting day. Some perhaps unexpected results coming out there, some interesting results as well, and I hope today we're going to see something very similar. Of course, to introduce ourselves, my name is Jordan Mason. Joining me, of course, Alex Blakey.
Great to be here, of course, Jordan. And you're right. Yesterday we kicked off the season with a bang. Some really interesting results, particularly because we had no idea what to expect. This season we have got the same teams, but so many of them have had a swathe of roster changes that it's just been so hard to predict those first two matches yesterday. And I'm sure today we're going to see some more unexpected results.
Yeah, definitely some high-profile matches coming out today. I mean, we've got a lot of good teams in this competition. As you probably know already, I should mention though, we do have a shortened day today. We've got 3 matches instead of 4. Team Efficiency have rescheduled their Week 1 matches, so we're going to be having 1 less match today, but that's okay. We've still got 3 epic matches coming up.
Absolutely. We have got a fair few matches coming up for everyone. And, well, I'm excited to get started. Of course, guys, these teams are playing for the big bucks here in WGL APAC Season 2. Over $200,000 US up for grabs in the prize pool this season. So why don't we take a look at how it went yesterday, Jordan?
Yeah, definitely was a pretty good day yesterday. As we've already spoken about, we did have Karen Tiger up against the Horseman to start things off, and that was a pretty interesting match because Karen Tiger got off to a cracker start, 3 rounds in a row, and then proceeded to basically fall apart from there on out. They lost 5 in a row, gifting Horseman the win 5-3, and after that, Wargaming and Meltdown ended up with a win to Meltdown 5-1, where we kind of expected to actually see a much closer result, and both you and I predicted that Wargaming were actually going to come out with a victory there. So some surprising results coming out from yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. That one, the Wargaming and Meltdown match, I mean, neither of us called Meltdown to win, let alone Meltdown to win that one 5-1. And obviously I thought that, Meltdown having a few roster swaps and losing out a few of their key players from last season might have impacted them negatively, but obviously they're feeling pretty confident.
Yeah, we'll have to see what's going to go on today, though, because I think we're going to see some interesting games coming out as well. We do have Meltdown coming out once again today, starting off the day against the Coalition Zoo. Then after that, Dark Wolves versus Karen Tiger. And the final match of today, I think, is going to be the big one, Wargaming versus Wargaming.
Oh, that will be interesting. And it'll be interesting to see whether Wargaming can rebound after their 5-1 loss yesterday to kind of hold a candle to Wargaming. Because traditionally, of course, Jordan, Wargaming have been the only ones that have come close to Wargaming in APAC. So, I mean, if Wargaming this season have dropped off the perch a little bit, does that then mean that Wargaming are, going to be further away from the pack, or maybe some new competitors?
Potentially. Hopefully, I think. Although, in saying that, I do feel like things are still going to be pretty much how they were last season. Again, we will have to see. It is hard to read into how things have gone. But the way Meltdown looked yesterday definitely looks like they're going to be another contender for this season, even though they've had so many roster changes.
For sure, 100%. And Meltdown obviously been practicing a lot, no doubt. We could see some very interesting strategies that they employed yesterday. And obviously their team cohesion with their kind of newly changed roster, which we can see on the screen now, has been pretty good from what we saw.
Yeah, so a few new players coming into this roster. Obviously, Momo7, the captain this year, or this season, he's a new player. Cry, or CRI, not sure what we're going to go with here just yet, but he's a new one. Rush, also one of the new players in that team. Blast is a different name, but that is actually God SP from last season. Pathfinder, Parthen from last season. But the returning players on that roster, God SP/Blast, Pathfinder/Parthen, and Vicetone, as well as Pang Pang. But yeah, a bunch of new players in that roster as well on the sub side of things. So we have seen, a good performance from them yesterday, but I think they're going to need to really follow that up with a good performance today to, I guess, solidify them, at least to me, as looking like a team that's made some good changes.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. And I mean, yesterday we did see Vicetone. He stayed his usual self. But moving on to their opponents in the first match here, Jordan, the Coalition Zoo. Now, they've had some changes. Let's run through. I actually really like one particular change that TCZ has made. They've taken Nomad from Team Efficiency, who came into TE late last season, and they've added him to their roster now. So as well as that, MyLion _WOT, he's going to be coming in. But with that extra strong heavy tank player from TE, I really feel that's going to benefit them a lot. They've lost Haku, Pixel, and Benny's. Pixel was probably the most standout player that they've sort of dropped a little bit, but yeah.
The majority of that roster actually, or the core of this roster this season, is all players that we have seen last season. So they haven't. This is actually the most, I suppose, same or similar team to what we saw last season. And even Lion coming into that roster has played with Coalition Zoo previously when they were a Silver League team. So I think that team, a lot of the cohesion that they're going to have from last season will transfer over to this season. Having said that, obviously the Coalition Zoo didn't necessarily perform to the highest of levels last season. They were the ones that finished in that 8th position. So definitely looking to climb up that ladder a little bit this season.
Yeah, and look, you've got to remember, of course, that TCZ, they came into this season with a bit of a struggle. It was their match against Naughty Kids. They only came through 5-4 in the tiebreaker. So last season as well, they ended near the bottom of the ladder, or 8th position, 8th or 7th on the ladder from memory. So it wasn't an easy ride for them. And I think going up against Meltdown, who's already showed their form yesterday, that's going to be really tricky, and I think we've got to see TCZ with this new roster, with these new few additions rather, really pull something out of the hat.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, historically speaking, between these two teams, last season, both times they played each other, it went the way of Meltdown. 5-1 in Phase 1, actually 5-4 in Phase 2, but if I remember correctly, that was the game where Meltdown was sort of just messing around with a few different tank picks, which might have allowed the Coalition Zoo to get a few more points on the board than you would have ordinarily expected. But definitely, I think, coming into this one, Meltdown probably looking like the favoured team in this matchup. I'm going to go Meltdown 5-2 over TCZ. You
know what, Jordan? I've got to agree with you. Meltdown 5-2 over TCZ. That's my prediction. I think maybe if Nomad is in all of the games that TCZ play this time, I really like Nomad. Wouldn't be surprised to see it go to something like a 5-3 to Meltdown. But yeah, I think Meltdown, particularly after yesterday's performance, have got this.
I think a lot of it, though, as well, is going to come down to what maps we see coming out here between the two teams. Overall, in general, I do feel like Meltdown definitely has a stronger map pool. But the Coalition Zoo, I know they've been practicing a few new strategies on some of those maps. I mean, I wouldn't be particularly surprised to see something like an S-Tank coming out here. I know Madhouse very proficient at those new Swedish tank destroyers. So if I think, out of all the teams in the APAC region, I would probably expect TCZ might be one of the first ones to pull that tank out, given the fact that also that they're a team that has tended to pick up some of those more pocket picks. They like to go for the E100s, the T110E3s, the tanks that no one else really runs as much. So that would be kind of my reasoning behind thinking maybe we'll see an S-Tank out of Coalition Zoo tonight.
Yeah, 100%. Would not be surprised to see that at all. And I would love to see that, of course. I'd love to get an S-Tank in here. We did see the Kranwagen last night picked up. It didn't have great success in that game on Mines that we saw it, but I would really like to see a proficient S-Tank player. The STRV 103B pick that one up.
Or even the UDES.
Even the UDES, yeah, the Tier 8 Swedish tank destroyer. Yep. I could like to see the UDES. Very mobile, that one. And of course it does have that new mechanic, the siege mode, where you hit a button and you become slightly less mobile, but have excellent gun stats after that. So it would be good to see.
Definitely would be. I guess it's going to be, an interesting night throughout the entire night. We've got, of course, Dark Wolves and Karen Tiger coming up as our second match of the night. I think that one I'm probably favouring Karen Tiger. We did see Karen Tiger yesterday, and even though they went down 5-3, they looked pretty good in those 3 rounds that they were able to pick up. So I think they're definitely a possibility for a good or a good placing throughout Season 2.
Yep. That's fair enough. I think Karen Tiger, well, it will be interesting to see how they kind of continue on. I mean, they definitely showed some glimpses of brilliance yesterday, starting off 3-0, and some of the strats they did. The AMX CDC that they played yesterday on Ruinberg, I think it was. Very impressive.
Meltdown.
Oh, sorry, Meltdown, that was.
EL Gaming and B Gaming after that, though. That's really going to be the best matchup of the night.
100%. EL and B Gaming, like, I think even...
It's hard to say because B Gaming didn't have the greatest of days yesterday.
It's hard. It is very hard. You're right, and I think maybe B Gaming might have been just a little bit shaky in yesterday's games. You know, first day nerves. I'm not sure. Just a little bit under practiced, but hopefully they can show us how it's done here against EL Gaming, because they've traditionally been very strong against them.
Yeah, 5-4, 5-4, both times going to EL Gaming though last season. B Gaming would have been a little disappointed with how that had ended. They would have hoped to have at least been, I guess, the only team to topple EL Gaming last season. But we also saw EL Gaming and B Gaming go over to the Challengers Rumble together. EL Gaming, I guess you could argue, had a slightly better time than B Gaming, but neither team was able to make it out of the group stage there. So EL Gaming and B Gaming getting knocked out. I think EL, their best result was picking up a 5-3 loss to one of the North American teams, whereas B Gaming kind of just got blown out of the water 5-1, I think 5-1 and 5-0 or 5-1 and 5-1.
Yeah, well, how was it over in New York? Because you were lucky enough to make the trip.
It was pretty good. It was nice to, you know, meet all the people from overseas, you know, the other regions, a lot of the players, the casters, all that sort of stuff. It was a good time. Lots of good food over there in New York. We had great catering.
Good pizza.
I did have one American pizza actually. It was, you know, it was like one of those $1 ones from like the corner store.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, I just got off the plane. I'd been on the plane for almost 24 hours going from Australia to America, right? It takes a while. And I was like, I need some terrible food. You know what? I'm going to get an American pizza. And I went and got one with Ollie, who's the global project manager for WGL. And it was, you know, it was pretty greasy, as you probably expect from an American $1 pizza. But it was exactly what I needed at that time of night. So it was a good start to the trip. But yeah, it was definitely great to be able to see all those other players and all those players that we don't get to cast. But you know,
well,
hopefully in the future we'll be able to, you know, maybe have a crack at that later down the track. But we'll have to see. Looks like we're going to get underway shortly with our first match of today. The first map is actually going to be Himmelsdorf.
Absolutely, as we can see on the screen behind us there, Himmelsdorf, a very tight map. Lots of close city streets where these guys can brawl it out against one another. Not too many options for flanking. Sometimes we do see teams move towards the hill to go for a bit of a hill push. We often see that scouted out first as well. But let's take a look. And we do have a Kranwagen picked up there by the Coalition Zoom. We've got some funny looking E100s as well.
I dare say they might have a bit of an extra DPM coming out. But no, more interestingly for me, on this lineup here for the Coalition Zoo, that T110E3, I think we can quite safely expect that that's going to be Madhouse taking that tank away. He seems to be one of the few players in the WGL that will pick it.
But after seeing the T95s last night, I would rather see a T95 than a T110E3.
Yeah?
Because it's just like the T95 is sturdier.
You do need to also take another tier 9 tank.
But do you?
Yeah,
no, because I thought they took two T95s.
Yeah, they took two.
Anyway,
so you have to take two T95s.
And another tier 9.
No.
Anyway,
what?
Who knows?
You take two T95s.
Yeah,
that's two tier 9s.
I guess so. Anyways, let's take a look.
I'm lost, Alex.
No, never mind. Let's focus on the game at hand. The point is they do have that tier 10 American tank destroyer. Let's see where they're rolling out to on TCZ's side. On the defensive side, it's looking like a fairly standard setup there, mainly focused around the 2 line. They haven't sent anyone to scout up the hill yet. Crazy B, he's looking down the banana instead. And for those of you that may be wondering a little bit, whenever we refer to the banana, well, it is that line down across
the 7 sort of 8 line.
7-8 line,
that little bit of a curvature in the map.
Exactly. We can even show you on our map right here. So this is what we refer to, particularly this little section here, as the banana. As it is sort of shaped a little bit like a banana, if you can excuse my bad drawing.
Should have gone with a yellow color, but I don't think we can actually do that. Still, yeah, that is the banana. And in the meanwhile, we've just seen Lion take a little bit of damage in that AMX 1390. Just one shot from one of those tanks. Rush has been spotted out by the Coalition Zoo, but apart from that, not all that much going on at the moment so far between Meltdown and TCZ.
Yeah, not a great deal. We can see their TCZ. They have spotted out Rush all the way down there in that H3 line. So it's going to give them a little bit of information. You know, it tells them, okay, well, Meltdown probably aren't going for a hill rush with that one tank all the way back down there. Although Meltdown, looking at the hill, are pretty much poised to push down it with a couple of their tanks. They have got 3 up there, which is a little bit uncommon. Often you'll just send maybe one AMX-50B up the hill, maybe an AMX-50B and a Gorilla, but they've actually got 3 of their tanks up there, so can definitely make a pretty strong hill push when they feel like it.
We could just see here on Vicetone's point of view, he's just spamming a couple of those bushes, trying to maybe see if he can figure out where the Coalition Zoo guys are, get maybe a free shot or two in. But obviously, as we can tell with our, I suppose, God vision, there is no shots connecting to any of those Coalition Zoo players at this point.
Yeah, at the moment, no major exchanges happening just yet, but take a run through of the players as well, and it will actually be Pac-Mania, as we can see there in the Kranwagen. And my line, what here, is going to be in the AMX 1390. I think it's a good idea to put line there in that 1390. I haven't really felt that last season TCZ's Tier 8 light tank play was kind of amazing. I think it was Pixel that played it last season, potentially.
I think they might have just swapped it around every now and then. I'm struggling to even remember who they would have had in the Tier 8.
Wasn't standout.
No.
That's for sure. But even fall in the WZ111 there, of course, that Chinese Tier 9 heavy tank, great for a little bit of a brawl. It can hold its own.
Good gun.
Particularly, yeah, exactly. When you hold down, it's got the good gun.
Here's Madhouse. Unsurprisingly, he's the one that's placed himself in the T110E3. I believe Madhouse is actually the caller for the Coalition Zoo as well. So you may every now and then see him also in the Tier 8 tank on particular maps, certain things like that. But obviously, he's calling the shots for the Coalition Zoo. I was watching when they were playing against Naughty Kids in that qualifying match. As soon as you would get into a map, there would just be spams all across the map from Madhouse, just telling his team where to go.
And look at this, Jordan. Pink Pig and another AMX 50B from Meltdown are coming down, and they haven't been spotted.
No, they have not. This is great from them. They know exactly what angle they need to be avoiding. That's a good shot, though, from Krazib. Getting one shot on the cross. Cry, I think, might have taken a shot as well from Madhouse there. That's a huge chunk of damage going into him. And Meltdown, despite getting, I guess, some positioning, they've sacrificed a fair bit of HP on that AMX 50B, which is quite important.
Yeah, 100%. Losing that much HP on the AMX 50B, not a great start there, because as soon as it pokes around, it's only got 900 health. That's, you know, one shot from the T110E3 and one shot from pretty much any other tank on TCZ's side, or, you know, a couple of shots from something like
a Bat Chat.
A Bat Chat, which they don't have. But anyways, right now we do see Vicetone. He's in a Bat Chat, getting the cap started off there on that 2 flag. He's in the Bat Chat AP, so that Tier 9 one. Probably the most expandable out of all of Meltdown's tanks. And in 1 minute and 38 seconds, that cap will go off. Now it's up to the Coalition Zoo to come in and stop that. Of course, with that T110E3, that's one of the disadvantages of that position and the tank. Not a very mobile tank, so they really need to try and force a fight in that flag capture zone where the T110E3 can actually help out.
Yeah, definitely, and rush at the moment for Meltdown, hanging around towards the southern part of the map. If he chooses the right time, maybe push up the railway line, can catch Lion off guard, there's absolutely no chance for a 1390 up against a Bat Chat like that. So if he gets the timing right, or if he does even decide to go down the railway, that could potentially be a free pick there for Meltdown. But it does look like Coalition Zoo, for now, are starting to make their push in through that D line. Joke looks like he's starting to make his move forward, as well as Krazib and Madhouse up towards that A line. So a bit of a split here for the Coalition Zoo as they now start to try to hold on towards that capped.
Yeah, they're giving it a crack, and we do see, Vicetone moving off the cap as he's spotted out the 3 members of TCZ coming on towards him. So a good little bit of pressure coming out there, and Momo actually getting a little bit too aggressive in that grill.
Yeah, not having the greatest of times up there on the hill. He does take a couple of shots. He did fire off one, but from what I could tell, it didn't actually connect into anyone. At least not significantly. If he did connect, at least he didn't penetrate.
It's dangerous here for Meltdown. They are not in a great spot. They are probably going to get fired across from Roby1 Kenobi and Pac-Manius there as they cross the road, but it's looking like not many of those shots actually hitting or even going towards them. They might not have been spotted, but very, very lucky.
Meltdown really need to figure out what they want to do here, because they've spent a lot of time just driving around the map. 3.5 minutes, all that they have left, and it does look like they're starting to try and rotate over towards that railway line. But that's going to take them another 20-30 seconds, and by then, you know, there's not that much time left in this game. Coalition Zoo have done a pretty good job of stalling things out at the moment and keeping the HP relatively even. Obviously, they started off with a little bit more because they have a couple of E100s there. But Meltdown, I'm struggling to see what they're trying to do here. Momo up there in that grill 15. If they go over towards that 1 flag, he might not necessarily be able to have as much of an impact on the game as Meltdown would like.
Ooh, almost saw the shot coming out of Roby there, but oh no, he's just missed it. That is not the sort of shot that you want to be missing there. As an AMX 50B that is almost stationary, you know, it's very, very costly. Those things add up.
Yeah, that was essentially free damage for Roby there, but does look like Coalition Zoo have managed to put a couple of shells into Meltdown for now. Roby in a bit of trouble now, though. Down to only 214 HP. He's taken a big shot from that WZ-111.
Meltdown are really spread out at the moment. I'm not liking their positioning. Look, they've got one guy up on the hill that TCZ know about so they can avoid Pathfinder. You know, he's going to take a while to come anywhere. Pink Pig and Cry as well. They're not really in a position to initiate a brawl. It's going to be hard for them to try and get through.
Yeah, Evenfall and Rush here are going to be peeking in towards Madhouse. Yes, Evenfall is going to take a big shot there, almost 780 damage coming out from him, but Rush and Evenfall should have no troubles here cleaning up Madhouse, probably even before he can get the reload across. Or at least they're going to need to hope so, because Rush is right in the firing line of Madhouse. I think they've tracked him now as well, and it does look like Madhouse is going to get a shot actually into the side of Evenfall, so that's another good shot coming out from Madhouse before he goes down. About 1,500 damage comes out from him. Now Rush and Evenfall do need to deal with Krazib in that 113 Pathfinder as well, hanging around to help things out there, but I think Rush might be clipping. And this is starting to get down to the wire. 1 minute, 20 seconds left on the clock here. Meltdown struggling to get that cap timer ticking away as quickly as they would like. They've got a couple of players up towards this 2 flag, Pathfinder and Momo, but they've lost players across the board over towards that 1 flag. Vicetone's gone, even falls down, Rush as well is down, and Krazib shouldn't have too difficult of a time resetting this onto Pathfinder.
Yep, no, Pathfinder is not going to be long for this world, particularly if Joke's shot goes through. It does need to in that E100, and it does. Crazy B getting the kill. And look, with only 3 members up, this should be a matter of cleanup for the Coalition Zoo right here. As Cry, he's 1 shell from death, and with 48 seconds left, there just is no way that the remaining members of Meltdown can close this one out. So TCZ are actually going to take out this first one here on Himmelsdorf in about 30 seconds. Maybe Pink Pig can get a bit of a consolation prize on that AMX 50B. Might be able to take out Roby 1 or Pac-Manius, but overall, very well played there by TCZ.
Yeah, not particularly surprising overall. We know Meltdown, you know, not hugely comfortable in Himmelsdorf. It does tend to be one of their poorer maps from last season. Again, there has to be that little caveat. It's not the same team, but it's a similar team. And also for the Coalition Zoo, that was one of their better maps. You know, they like those E100s, and obviously E100s very good on Himmelsdorf.
Absolutely, yeah, they worked very well. And yeah, thinking back to last season, you're right, TCZ, they always looked comfortable on Himmelsdorf. You know, it was just like that one. They got into some really good positions that baited in the brawl. They got a few kind of mini skirmishes happening. There was never an all-out brawl and Meltdown. They just felt a little bit disjointed in that one. And a little bit uncoordinated in some respects, where, you know, they pushed up the banana, and kind of a few of their tanks were around the city there, but they didn't actually commit to the fight, and they let those 3 tanks from TCZ push in towards them. Anyways, wasn't brilliant there by Meltdown. Wasn't great execution.
Yeah, you're right. It definitely didn't feel like they went into that with a plan that was executed. If they did have a plan, it wasn't executed properly. The T1 10E3 from Coalition Zoo might have been a little bit of a curveball, maybe a little bit difficult to dig out from those areas. But look, overall, it just was, Meltdown seemed a little bit lost there on Himmelsdorf.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. After seeing them play yesterday, it's a little bit strange to see them lost, because did they play Himmelsdorf yesterday? I'm trying to remember.
I can have a look.
I don't think they did from memory. But anyways, either way, whether they did or didn't, they're certainly not looking crash hot right now. And right now is what counts, of course, because they have to play Himmelsdorf again in this second half here against TCZ.
They did actually play Himmelsdorf yesterday against B Gaming. They won it 2-0. So who knows what's going on
a different Meltdown. But
well, you know, it might have been just B Gaming off their game yesterday, but I don't know. We'll have to reserve our judgment. We've only seen 1 round so far coming out, so I think we're drawing too many conclusions here. It's not the end of the world for Meltdown at all.
No, for sure. And I think Meltdown, if they come back in this one, then I'm pretty confident in my prediction. They just need to kind of get their footing here against TCZ. Everyone knows TCZ, you know, they like to, they're good at this sort of brawling. They're good at Himmelsdorf, and maybe Meltdown might cop a loss here, maybe on both sides of Himmels, but I feel as though once we start to move on to some of the more open maps in this roster, then we'll see Meltdown come a little bit more into their own.
I do agree with you on that point, but Meltdown actually did pick Himmelsdorf here, so I wonder if maybe they've got some sort of a different idea to what we've got. I certainly feel like Meltdown has a bit of a stronger roster on those more open maps as well. I think Steps and Prokhorovka, which are the maps coming up after this, or Prokhorovka and then Steps, are probably a little bit more favourable to Meltdown, even though those are Coalition Zoo picks.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? But I guess, well, we can at least take a look at what Meltdown scored in terms of the damage stats in that one. And we can see that Pink Pig was up the top for Meltdown. Only 2.7k in that AMX 50B. But Madhouse, look, I'm not always a fan of the T110E3, Jordan. You know that. But with 3.1 thousand damage just about, that is a pretty impressive number.
Yeah, definitely.
Look at Lion.
Yeah, Lion did pretty good job in that AMX 1390.
Really good.
That's almost a couple of clips. I think it's about 1,200, maybe a little bit more out of the clip of the AMX 1390. So he got a few extra shots off as well. So not too bad from him. Also the E100 there. Not sure who's in that tank. Did a pretty good job for Coalition Zoo as well. Vicetone not getting much done in his Batchat AP.
No, and I feel as though, yeah, I don't really like Vicetone that much on Himmelsdorf as a player because he's always going to pick the Batchat, and I think sometimes, like particularly when you know you're going to be going up against the Coalition Zoo, who generally do pick those E100s and generally just kind of play very static. I don't really think a Batchat AP offers that much in that scenario.
Well, I mean, we know Vicetone, he pretty much only plays the Batchat and the Batchat AP, so maybe that's just him saying, look, this is the tank I want to play, and that's what I'm going to do. So I don't know.
And sitting at the bottom of the scoreboard.
Well, it is what it is.
Oh well.
I think,
I
you know, we
nice
saw him
WZ
yesterday.
111 would be better there.
Yeah, maybe. We saw him in the Batchat AP yesterday as well, and I don't think he was nearly as effective as he had been last season in the Tier 10 Batchat.
Yeah, I feel as though having Vicetone and not putting him in the Tier 10 Batchat is really a pretty solid disadvantage. If you've got him, obviously the Tier 9, it kind of adds a handicap onto his playstyle a little bit.
Yeah, must be something going on there, but who knows? I mean, obviously we don't know the inner workings necessarily of each of these teams, and Meltdown, they had a good day yesterday. They've started off today a little bit poorly, but look, again, you know, can't read into it too much. It is just one round on Himmelsdorf there, which maybe Meltdown didn't necessarily feel comfortable on. We'll see how they go here in the second half on the defensive side. Coalition Zoo going to be attacking. I wonder what kind of tanks we're going to be seeing coming out from Coalition Zoo on the attack. I dare say it's not going to be a T110E3.
Probably not. Probably not a T110E3, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some E100s coming out. They have previously in the last season picked up those E100s on the attack and the defense here on Himmelsdorf, so could be a thing. What else? Maybe a Kranwagen?
I don't think the Kranwagen really... I didn't even see the Kranwagen last map.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like it had any impact at all.
I'm struggling to remember it as well. So obviously it can't have had that much of an impact if we both missed it, or maybe we're both potatoes, Jordan.
Well, I think you're a potato. I'm not really that bad.
Wow.
But look, you know what? It is what it is. Both the times that we've seen the Kranwagen so far this season, I don't think it's done all that much work. So let's go ahead and find out whether or not we're going to be seeing a third Kranwagen this season or not. Coalition Zoo were the ones to pick it up last time, but
look
in
at that.
true Coalition Zoo fashion, it is just going to be the E100s coming out. A couple of T10s as well, a very nice Tier 9 Russian heavy tank.
Yep.
To back up the other heavies, and well, it's a full heavy lineup from the Coalition Zoo. Unsurprisingly, Meltdown taking at least one Batchat and one Batchat AP.
Okay. I actually really like that pick up there from the Coalition. I mean, if you've got those tanks, there's nothing stopping you from just heading up the Banana and just driving onto the 2 flag. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them do that. Meltdown, much more balanced lineup. Of course, it's Meltdown. You're always going to see those Batchats. And TCZ, I mean, they've got so many hit points there and so much armor. The E100s are going to ding shells. The T10's got a pretty strong turret. 113 as well. Not a flimsy tank. So it's going to be tricky for Meltdown in this one, I feel.
Yeah,
so
potentially.
May even lead into a bit of a 2-0 if what I'm thinking happens.
Yeah, I mean, it is the kind of standard strategy that we do see coming out from the Coalition Zoo, though. I think Meltdown probably going to be quite aware of what they're going to be going up against. They would have been, you know, reasonably, or they would have thought that there was a fairly decent likelihood that they're going to be seeing some more E100s coming out here on the attack. So I feel like they're going to be ready and aware of what they need to do. If they can set up some good crossfires, catch off one of those E100s, maybe take it out early on in the piece, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think that could definitely be a valid strategy for them. You know, trying to snipe off one of those E100s. But again, with the E100s on Himmels particularly, as long as you're landing those shots, and it's just so hard to trade with them. You know, they can poke around any of these corners on the map, let that shell out, deal 750 average damage, and you just can't respond if they get it through.
Alrighty, well, here we go. Meltdown rolling out on that defensive side here of Himmelsdorf, actually making their way up towards the hill, a couple of them at least. Maybe those AMX 50Bs, Pink Pig and might be Rush, I think, following up. But the Coalition Zoo, for their own right, are making their way up the hill. And we've seen the Coalition Zoo do this a couple of times last season. They just get up that hill in those E100s, roll down the other side of the hill, and try and overwhelm those two tanks that are on the other side that try to defend.
And there we go. We can see TCZ heading up the hill, and heading up the hill very, very slowly. So they're going to eventually make their way across to the bottom of the hill. I mean, I'm not really keen to call this a hill rush because it's obviously not a rush. But I guess they're getting there as fast as they can do, so you may as well. But yeah, as long as they poke over this hill kind of at the same time with a couple of those E100s, they're going to be able to get a lot of alpha damage onto the WZ111. If they have the gun depression to do that, it might be a little bit tricky, but might get spotted out before they do so. So right now, TCZ just playing very cautiously.
E100's not going to be too easy to pen there for Evenfall, the tier 9 tank, and he's going to have to hightail it out of here because those E100s are charging down that hill. I can see at the moment the E100s are going to stop, actually. No, they're not. Just the map trolling me. They're going to continue their push forward. Evenfall is taking a lot of damage. They're down to 720. Pathfinder trying to put some back into those E100s, but they have such a big amount of health that they're going to continue this charge forward and not really be too bothered by all of this damage that they're taking. And look at how much damage they have taken. Despite that, they still have more HP available than Meltdown currently does. The first kill of the round does go the way of Madhouse 1010101010 in that E100.
Yeah, this is exactly what the Coalition Zoo wants to try. They want to try and start a fight here. They want to try and maybe split off some of Meltdown and just alpha them down with those E100s. Meltdown smartly are trying to rotate around, but look at this. Vicestone, he's not going to be anywhere near the fight for a while. They're heading up the hill. A good move from Meltdown, kind of running away, because you are, of course, going to be able to run away from those E100s. Super slow German tier 10 heavies. But now the E100s are getting into position. They just have to be careful, make sure they're still going for smart trades and not overextend while they're chasing these guys from Meltdown.
Madhouse is keen to just get in here and try and deal some damage over to Momo. He's going to try and pen the turret, and he does manage to do that. 792 damage going right into that 113. Obi-Wan Kenobi not able to penetrate with his E100, but Momo is in a world of hurt here at the moment. Look at that, 3 E100s coming around, and he's just stuck in that little pillbox. There's not going to be much chance of him getting out of here. Madhouse even getting a shot right into the bottom of the tank there. But Meltdown on the other side of the map, up towards the northern part, have actually done a pretty good job of cleaning up those T10s that we're capping at the moment. Pac-Manius also in trouble here, needs to get out and needs to get that clip reloaded as soon as he can. I don't know if he's going to get out. It looks like he's just managed to make his way around the corner safely. Now it really just comes down to these E100s for the Coalition Zoo, who at the moment, you know, they're all somewhat healthy, but really they don't have that huge amount of health pool that is going to scare Meltdown.
Yeah, we've got Pathfinder. Look, I think the important thing here is that Meltdown, they have some good tanks still alive. They've got the 113, the AMX 50B, the 2 Bat Chats, so they can put out a lot of damage, and they just need to try and get into this sort of skirmish scenario. Find one of the Coalition Zoo's tanks, someone, maybe even Obi-Wan Kenobi, try and assassinate him and bail before the rest of those E100s can get through. And just like that, we're seeing Rush getting a cheeky little shot on towards Joke. And, rotating quickly and doing snapshots is not exactly what E100s are known for, so it's Good little bit of play there from Meltdown, but now TCZ getting themselves on towards the cap. I think this is actually in favour of Meltdown, who should be able to reset this fairly easily.
You're right, they should be able to reset this quite easily, but there's not really that many options for the Coalition Zoo because being in those E100s, they can't chase the Meltdown guys. They have to have Meltdown come to them, and obviously being on the flag capture is the way to do that. Vicetone going to come around from behind here, though, and it has to be Madhouse to put a big shot into Vicetone, and, well, he's unfortunately got his turret in the wrong direction. They're actually going to push forward and try and find Pathfinder, but this is going to give Vicetone plenty of easy shots into the sides and backs of those E100s. Vicetone does take a shot from Roby1 Kenobi, but in the end there, it's just going to be too little too late. The Coalition Zoo, those E100s, not going to be able to get enough done, and it should be Meltdown to close this one out relatively easily.
Yeah, there we go. Meltdown should be able to easily take out Roby1 Kenobi. They've still got 4 tanks left, and that last shot from Roby1 not going to be able to take out Pathfinder. So there we go. TCZ getting evened up there, 1 apiece here on Himmelsdorf, and they still got to take a little bit of extra time to take down the E100 because it is a HP monster. There's another shell ricochets off, but there we go, 1-1. After our little Himmelsdorf start off between these two guys. Meltdown, look, wasn't too bad from them. They're looking like they can definitely hold it up to TCZ can hold it up to Meltdown.
Yeah, definitely. Well, okay, I'm not so sure about that. I kind of quickly agreed to that, but I'm not so sure. Coalition 2, they did look good in that first round, but obviously I've predicted 5-2, and to me that's not necessarily holding a candle to Meltdown. If you get 5-2, I think that's a pretty convincing result. But again, we're going to have to wait and see. Coming up next is Prokhorovka. I think that one's a map that Meltdown are going to have a bit more of an advantage on than, say, Himmelsdorf.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Prokhorovka, Meltdown, they like to pick the bat chats, so they like to play those medium tanks, those faster tanks. TCZ not so much. Obviously, that plays into the hands of Meltdown on Prokhorovka. It's a very wide open map. You've got lots of room to maneuver. Static play doesn't really work too well. Maybe if you're on the defense and you do some sort of a crazy kind of camo strat and you know, throw your cards into the hill, camp at the base of that. We've seen that work previously in the last season, but overall, static play, Prokhorovka don't really go together. So
yeah. So at least Coalition 2 able to get 1 round out of that one. It was Meltdown's pick, so I think Coalition 2 going to be pretty happy with how things have turned out there on Himmelsdorf, to be honest. Over on the next map, of course, that is Coalition Zoo's pick, and Meltdown starting off on the defensive side. We have seen, historically, Meltdown a little bit better on the attacking side, but again, it's a very new roster coming out here for the Meltdown guys. Hard to say what is going to go on here on Prokhorovka for that lineup.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think if I was Meltdown, what would I pick here? I think I'd definitely pick Bat Chats. Not completely Bat Chats though, but
well, if you're Meltdown, they might pick an entire team of Patterns, but I guess that's digressing a little bit. Let's go back and have a look at the post-battle stats here for Meltdown and Coalition Zoo on the second half of Himmelsdorf. AMX 50B up the top of the damage charts there for Meltdown, and of course, a lot of damage coming out from that. Lots of E100s to put some damage into. So a lot of damage that you can farm there if you are Cry. Pathfinder as well doing a good job for Meltdown. But again, we see Madhouse up towards the top of the scoreboard there for Coalition Zoo. Almost 8k.
Fair effort there by Mr. Madhouse. And what else? We've got Pink Pig, Vice and Rush down there. We've got the rest of the TCZ players on 8th to 14th. Joke in the E100 dealing 19 damage. And that's not great. And
no.
Obviously that T10 for TCZ not...
Yeah, only getting 1 shot off.
Yeah. Not amazing, but even for, as well, in that WZ111, obviously got Primate out pretty early on, and yeah, just couldn't do too much in his Tier 9 heavy tank. But yeah, I think moving on towards Prokhorovka now, you know what I would not be surprised to see? I think it is one of those maps where we could see an S-tank.
Definitely, it definitely is. We've seen it in the North American region, the S-Tank holding down that 1-2 line on the defensive side. If anyone tried to push up there, the S-Tank just popping shells into them quite quickly, and they're not really able to spot him because the S-Tank has fantastic camo, and even if he does get spotted, quite good mobility once it's out of that siege mode. So definitely a possibility. And of course, I said previously, I think Coalitions who are a team that are reasonably likely to pick up an S-Tank here. So we'll have to see, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either, but hopefully they do. It would be great to see it here in WGL APAC. Have not seen it so far. We have seen the Kranwagen, which is kind of shares some similarities to the S-Tank. When the Kranwagen was actually being built, or rather designed, it was never built, they ended up not really making it. The Swedes said, okay, well, let's scrap this. But some of the components that they designed for the Kranwagen were actually then used in the S-Tank later on, and used in a few other tanks that our friends over in Sweden developed around the 1970s period.
I wonder if we will see a Kranwagen while we're on the topic, because it probably would be quite a good tank here on Prokhorovka. Good hull down, nice turret armor. And of course, it's got very, very good gun depression, so it might be quite nice to poke over that that track in the middle of the map.
I think so, but I don't know. It doesn't really have the mobility of an AMX 50B. I think Prokhorovka really do need that, and if you're going to go for something like that, Prokhorovka is one of the few maps where I don't mind the T110E5, just because you can just sit over the rails, you can poke through the and just shoot the very low percentage chance shots, which I think, coming from a Kranwagen's perspective, you're not going to, fire at every shot, every chance you get, through the little tiny pinholes on the rails and, to the tanks all the way up the distance. You don't take those low percentage shots very often when you're in an autoloader, because obviously you've got to reload.
Yeah, definitely. And well, I mean, there's options across the board really for both of these teams. As we've said, obviously the two new, or the 6, I guess, new Swedish tanks that you could potentially pick up here on Prokhorovka are an option. I mean, obviously we see a lot of STB1s coming out here on Prokhorovka. That's obviously another good tank which has very nice gun depression, quite useful on this map, poking between those tracks. The T110E5, wouldn't be surprised to see 113s even, one of the quicker heavy tanks moving around Prokhorovka, not so bad. And even artillery are an option, given how open and, wide open this map is. Yeah,
there we go. So here we are heading into Prokhorovka between these two teams. Lots of avenues to play on. And, we don't know whether the teams are going to defend from the left side or the right side of the railway. And whether we might see a town push, a one-line push, who knows. Let's take a look at what tanks both of these guys have picked. And there we go. We've got the S-Tank, the STRV 103B picked there from Meltdown, and almost a little bit surprising to see Meltdown pick that over TCZ, but there you go.
Well, Meltdown's on the defense, so I don't think we're going to be seeing an STRV on the attack. It's a very good defensive tank, not so great moving forward.
Fair enough, but I think even on the attack you could still put it on the hill if you got control of that.
Yeah,
pretty well. But anyways, we are going to be seeing it, so I'm pretty excited for that, and we'll do wait and see what impact it has on the game. Apart from that, we've got a very funny looking Object 140.
Yep.
We've got the STV1, which again
looks a little bit funny.
It's a little bit funny, but overall, some pretty standard picks. Like you called the STV1, great little tank on Prokhorovka, and I think TCZ who are using that should work well for them.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see where they place that. I mean, obviously I said in the North American region where we saw it placed was that 1-2 line, but I think it can also be used up on the hill on the other side of the map, even maybe back further in towards where we generally see an artillery for the defensive side, up towards sort of that A, maybe 9 area on the map. But again, we're going to have to see. There's lots of options for the S-Tank. Obviously, quite a quick tank that can move around the map fairly speedily. Yeah. And so it's got lots of options to relocate as well, if need be.
Absolutely. And the S-Tank can really pump out that damage per minute once it's, gets set up, gets into siege mode, all of that good stuff. So I'm really excited to see it, I guess. And I wonder if any of our viewers out there watching the WGL APAC live stream have got their own S-Tank. I know I'd be pretty jealous of them if they have. I've been trying to grind up that Swedish tank destroyer line. I'm on the tier 5 at the moment, the IKV.
Yeah. Helps when you get the little bit of a discount that Wargaming was giving out for that festive bonus, which was nice. Still haven't managed to reach tier 10 on my Christmas tree, unfortunately.
No, that's a bit of a struggle.
Still at tier 9. I need 2 more components.
Yes, there we go. But let's head into the game and see how the STRV 103B does in real life. And when you look at that, it is going to be an STRV 103B on the attack.
Okay, so Coalition Zoo was the one that... Okay, so
Yeah.
they were the wrong way around. Okay. So it is on the attack. Interesting. Interesting.
Oh well, let's take a look and see where it heads out to. So I love the sound that it makes as well because of course it's got that turbine engine. So it was designed so that it could kind of reverse at basically the same speed.
Yeah, well, this is pretty much where you'd want to put it. Pac-Mania's obviously spotting down the 1-2 line here for the S-Tank, but definitely not surprised to see Madhouse being the one to pick it up here. Have seen him playing it before, and had reasonable success in it as well. He's played the Yudes as well in some matches that I've been watching, so I would not be surprised to see him pick that up. Maybe something like that can come out on steps. I know it can do the boost up to defend that 2 flag, so that could be an interesting dynamic for that new S-Tank, or the new Yudes, I suppose.
Yeah, potentially. And I think Roby-1 Kenobi there in the Object 140 just getting spotted out. Not too sure how that didn't hit from Momo, but at the moment we have got TCZ just slowly feeling out that 1 and 2 line, trying to get a few spots down there. They haven't got anyone across over looking towards that hill, which could be dangerous later on if Rush does decide to kind of push down through.
Alrighty, Alex, what are we going to be seeing here from the Coalition Zoo? Let's have a look, let's have a listen in and see what they're thinking.
There's a lot of runs.
There's a lot of
Are we going to move down or not?
Yeah, can I get the 113 to come back and down? Same with the other 140, back and down. And we're going to make a push up the 1 line.
Okay, be fairly aggressive for the moment, Krazib, so that he doesn't spot me.
The front of your tank is... Oh no, it's okay. Line.
The
Alright,
bats
going high now.
The bats must be A2, right? B2.
Alright, not lit, and I made it across. Charge straight down that.
Yeah, can the bat come over? Actually, no, bat stay, bat stay.
Am I going mad?
Yeah, 140s go with them.
You want me to move up as well?
Yeah, once they get past you, go to the next bush.
Alright, I'm lit. Joke's lit.
You want the 215 to move in? Hello?
Bat chat down the end.
Bat chat, get a bit aggressive. Sorry, bat chat, the 215B, get a bit aggressive.
Alright, IS-7 just poked up and shot. Bat's
I'll go
still
first.
down the end.
Double bat, double bat.
Kill them, focus them.
This fucking lag!
On the right, on left, on left.
Matt, I'm coming in. Gonna clip that STB.
Yeah.
Are you?
Alright, someone finish.
Dispatch, you need to move in.
Yeah.
It hasn't worked out too well there for the Coalition Zoo, I think. I mean, they got a bit of damage across, actually, but Roby-1 Kenobi going down there. A tier 10 tank traded out for a tier 8 tank. You could hear there, though, Madhouse making all the calls. He's the one sitting up in that S-tank, and obviously the in-game leader for Coalition Zoo, calling the shots to push down that 1-2 line. Actually, I gotta say, I don't think it's actually worked out too bad now that they've taken down Pathfinder.
Yeah.
They've got good control across this map. Madhouse is now going to be able to move up quite a little bit in towards that sort of E1 area, which is typically where we see those tank destroyers camping, usually the Grill 15, but in this case, the STRV.
Oh, but look at this Meltdown. They're going to go back in with the bats. They've reloaded. They're going to try and take one and go back out.
Rush still got three shells left in his clip, but Coalition Zoo do find another kill. Vicetone trades it back onto Pac-Manius. What? 8 is taking a little bit of damage in that Object 140, but Vicetone, or rather Rush, is going to have to fall back a little bit here as he's going to expend his clip, and well, he's not going to have the chance to reload as Krazib in the FV215B will take him down. Meltdown just having a bit of trouble holding off this aggressive push from the Coalition Zoo, perhaps not expecting a push down that 1 line.
Yeah, that's not gone well for Meltdown. And I'm not too sure. I don't think it was the right idea pushing into all of those TCZ players when they knew they were essentially camped up and ready to fight those bad chats. It wasn't really a skirmish, and Momo's just going to lose his life there again. And TCZ, look, they have only got 4 left, 4 on 2. They should be able to close out those remaining 2 members of Meltdown in those bat chats. Vicetone gets away with a sliver of his life, though.
Yeah, well, it doesn't really matter at this stage how much health he's on. I don't think he's going to be able to do a whole lot in this one. Pink Pig and Vicetone, the 2 remaining players for Meltdown. And, well, there's plenty of players here for the Coalition Zoo to go on that cleanup squad.
Yep, And they just have to chase him down. So overall, like when we listened in there, I was really impressed with, oh no, Vicestone's going, but really impressed with that communication coming out of Madhouse. He was literally kind of driving every member of his team. You know, like we heard even in the back, I think it was, who was it? Crazy B in Crazy in that FE215B, he was saying, okay, do I push up? And you know, it was like the traffic conductor.
Yeah. Well, it shows that they've got a lot of, well, that wasn't a very good shot from Madhouse, I got to say, but it shows that they do have a lot of faith in him as they're sort of their leader. And obviously, well, maybe they should have a little bit less faith in him, because at the moment Madhouse is choking. He's choking. Finally does manage to connect a shot there, but I think he's going to be a little disappointed to find out that that was on stream, him missing 2 almost point-blank shells onto that bat chat, but that's all right. We'll forgive him for that.
It's hard.
Happens
It was
to
in
everyone.
siege mode. It was
Happens to everyone.
close, you know.
Doesn't matter. Coalition Zoo picking up the round win. That's what's important.
Yep, absolutely. So well played to the Coalition Zoo, and I think that highlighted when we heard them their great communication that they've got going between everyone. You know, as soon as Joke got hit or shot at, you know, it was like, okay, you know, I've been shot, spotted out, the bat chats are here, you know, shot again, IS7, and Madhouse was, you know, keeping the communication up. So that was great to see. And interestingly enough, that those 2 initial ricochets on Joke when he was pushing in, I think that played a big
huge.
part. That was massive.
I was very impressed by that. I know we both looked at each other and were like, oh, yeah, that was really nice
Yeah.
there from Joke in that 113. He angled his tank at the right time.
Just
it was maybe a little bit of luck involved because he didn't know exactly when he was going to be shot, but the angles, deflecting those shells, saving him, you know, up to probably 700, 800 HP, and allowing, you know, the push to continue there from Coalition Zoo. And what I was most impressed by there for the Coalition Zoo is those heavy tanks that were pushing forward. They didn't panic when they started getting shot by all those tanks. They knew what was going to happen. They knew that they had a job, which was to continue that push forward so that they could eventually get those spots, and they did manage to do just that. So great stuff from Coalition Zoo, pushing down that 1-2 line. And, well, Meltdown again on the back foot here.
Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing for Meltdown to see them lose a map like Prokhorovka that we didn't think was really going to happen. I certainly didn't, being such a wide open map, but obviously TCZ, they've adapted to the new patch, they've practiced that new STRV 103B, and they've made it work on the attack, just like that. And I really love the way they used it. They used it as a kind of supporting tank to go just behind their push, lend a nice bit of helping hand in terms of damage right at the back. And I mean, it doesn't really need to do anything else. It was effectively performed the role that you'd usually see something like a Grill perform there, in my opinion. But because they went for the hard push, it was just able to lay out that damage per minute, you know, and really make it work.
I wonder how much damage the STRV actually did do throughout that game, because I dare say it'll be up there. Madhouse, yeah, 2.5k in third. Krazib in the FE215B, yeah, he was kind of sitting back a little bit. Obviously, the FE215B, we know, a bit more of an accurate heavy tank as opposed to something like, you know, say an IS7. It has obviously that British gun, which is very accurate and able to pump out that damage from afar.
Yeah, and my Lion again. Lion has really been kind of starting off this one very well in that batch at 2.4k damage for TCZ as well. Whereas on Meltdown's lineup, again, very uncharacteristic to not see Vicestone up the top on a map like Prokhorovka when he's playing the Batchat. And, you know, he was 1400 damage, but still,
not enough.
You expect a little bit more from
like
that.
4 shots that have connected, really.
And Rush, again, Rush in that Batchat, only 400 damage. He was the one on the hill when I think the push was just about to start from TCZ. So if Rush had maybe read that situation a little bit better, maybe if Meltdown had a little bit more communication, as a guess, you know, they could have said, okay, Rush, you're free to push down the back of the hill. You're free to come behind and flank the TCZ guys so we can sandwich them in. But obviously, it's not what's happened. It's not gone well, and TCZ have taken it out instead, making it a 2-1 so far in the best of 9 series.
I want to see another S-Tank coming out here on the defensive side for Coalition Zoo. I think it was
7 even,
very good there for Madhouse, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it coming out once again here on Proc.
Yeah, I would love to see it coming out again, and I think it would be good to focus a little bit more on it as well, because I think that time, not only was Madhouse driving that STRV 103B, but we were taking a look at the front of the push, and it's pretty impressive that he was able to do all that and do all of the communication and the driving the team around while still, you know, playing his own tank and getting second top damage for TCZ.
Yeah, it's always interesting to be able to listen into those teams. Obviously, we can understand Coalition Zoo, we can understand team efficiency. The other teams all speaking different languages. So, you know, I did enjoy listening to Coalition Zoo, seeing how things were going on in, you know, their camp. And hopefully when Team Efficiency do start playing, obviously that's going to be next week, we'll get to listen in for them as well and see how things are going over there. But of course, we've got listen-ins for pretty much every team, just some of them we just don't understand.
Yeah, exactly, that's right. And even the ones we don't understand, you can still definitely hear the general communication, the general vibe in their comms, whether it be TeamSpeak or whatever. And you can still get a feeling for it. That's all.
Feeling for what's going on in that lineup. So Meltdown going to be moving on to the attacking side here. Their defensive side in Prokhorovka, I've got to say, wasn't that impressive. They did get a lot of damage out on those tanks as they were coming down that 1-2 line. But once the Coalition Zoo kind of took control of that 1-2 line, pretty much Meltdown seemed to fall apart a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Do you reckon Meltdown are going to be able to pull this one back?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I don't think Coalitions who are that far ahead of Meltdown at this point. And I did say I think it's going to be a 5-2. So for me, Meltdown's going to win 4 in a row and pick up the win.
Oh, it's very, very hard to call that, to be honest.
It is.
Very, very hard. But, I mean, I suppose yesterday they did start off kind of a little bit shaky.
Well, I mean, they won 5-1, so
yeah,
they went 1-1, I think, on the first map.
Yeah,
but Meltdown yesterday is a far cry from what we're seeing from Meltdown today. But let's not waffle on for too long. We'll have a look at the attack lineups coming out here on the second half of Prokhorovka.
Another STRV 103B.
And a Grill 15 this time for Coalition Zoo.
Okay, yeah, I don't mind that. It'll be interesting to see how Meltdown play the STRV. Obviously, Meltdown as well having those bat chats. Both teams opting to go for the RU251 instead of those 2 Tier 9 bat chats. And honestly, I like that a little bit more on Proc. The RU251's just a little bit more of a disposable scout.
Yeah, I mean,
it's got a nice gun.
Not a bad tank either.
It's got a nice gun for kind of longer ranges. You know, you can poke without worrying about your clip. So I do like that choice by both of these teams.
Yep.
So let's see how it works out.
Pretty nice gun depression on the RU251 as well, especially on the signs. I think it gets -10, which is more than enough to peek over some of these hills here on Prokhorovka. So unsurprised to see that tank coming out here, but now Meltdown are going to be fighting to pull things back to a 2-2. It is actually going to be the S-tank on the side of the Coalition. So again, they were swapped around. Madhouse will be taking the STRV on the defensive side. Meltdown have gone for, I suppose, the more conventional Grill 15 on the attack.
Yep. Makes sense, and I'd really love seeing Madhouse in that STRV 103B now. I would like to see him pick it up more, and who knows, maybe he will. But right now we are seeing some early spots. So Meltdown going to be going for a bit of a hill push. It looks like the 2 flag is their focus. Very aggressive scouting from Evenfall as well. Who might be spotted out by Roby1 Kenobi there.
Yeah, he is spotted out, but I think that's quite important information for him. Pretty sure he would have just gotten shot by Madhouse, not Roby1 Kenobi, in that RU251 for that amount of damage. But, or maybe even both, but if he can get on maybe on that 1 flag, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's getting a lot of information here for his team being able to drive around like this. They pretty much know that Meltdown is all, or almost all, over towards the other side of the map.
Yeah, it's looking like that at the moment. So a good little bit of scouting there by Evenfall. As Madhouse, he's trying to get a few more shots on towards him, but not the easiest to do in that STRV 103B. And that tank looks so funny when it's like that.
Yeah, there's another good shot though from Madhouse. 394, Evenfall now. Oh, I guess if Madhouse gets a good roll, he might be able to one-shot Evenfall there.
It's insane.
Just a second to go. Oh, he probably could have been a little bit more of a man mode there, but Roby1 Kenobi should be able to clean things up here. No, actually, Madhouse is going to go over. Misses the shot, though.
Madhouse,
Roby1 Kenobi is going to be able to find that kill as he flees over the tracks. And this is the difficulty now for Meltdown, trying to actually deal damage to Madhouse in that position that he's in. When Madhouse has got his tank angled the way he does, it's going to be such a low profile and such angled armor that oftentimes those shells from the Bat Chats and from all the other Meltdown tanks are just going to bounce off and ping off the front of that tank, or the top of the tank.
The
even.
top of the tank, exactly. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why the STRV was designed without a turret. It was because, you know, the Swedes found that, oh no, wait a sec, let's hold that thought. Pathfinder's in trouble.
He definitely is, although Lion has missed a couple of shells there, and he's bounced the third, so he's really messed things up here. Another one goes wide. I'm not so sure what's going on.
Oh my goodness!
He maybe he's lagging or something like that, because that was a little bit unacceptable there. Eventually, Pathfinder does go down in that IS-7, but that was so many wasted shells in that bat chat that that was just yeah, not great. Hate to break it, or hate to really pinpoint it, but I guess you have to do what you have to do.
You've got to, and speaking of doing that, it's looking like TCZ, they're going to have to push right in towards that one flag, because in 24 seconds, Jordan, it's going to be captured.
Yeah, Joke is going to be the one leading the charge here. Madhouse also in that STRV getting quite far forward, and Meltdown are hightailing it out of that cap circle.
Oh,
and
costly.
We're going to see the TVP of Coalition Zoo taking a little bit of damage in response, but Meltdown, I think, have got the worst of it in this bit of a trade. Look at how much HP advantage Coalition Zoo has here.
Yeah, that's a really big advantage there from TCZ. Not a great little passenger play there from Meltdown. Like, I mean, 20 seconds, that was still a long time to actually sit on that one flag, and I'm not too sure what they expected TCZ to do, but it was, you know, it was never really going to work. And now that they're 2 tanks down, the HP disadvantage is about 3,500 hit points right now, so it's so hard for Meltdown to come back into it. And they don't have any map positional advantage either. They can't really move anywhere. Pac-Manius is scouting out that southern end of the railway. He's going to be able to pressure anyone that tries to go down there. The rest of TCZ in the middle there, looking all the way across towards that 1 and 2 line.
Yeah, they also don't have any tank that they can put in towards that one flag, and you know, there's no IS-7, something like that can go hull down. There's no IU-251 left that can maybe just sit in a bush and remain unspotted. The bat chats are the only real option here, but obviously that's not the ideal situation for Meltdown. Vicetone has been spotted out there by Pac-Manius, and he's going to take a shell for his troubles. Lion is now under a bit of pressure here actually by Meltdown, and does get picked up full to 0 there straight off the bat. So that's not a great little bit of a trade in that passenger play there for Coalition Zoo, but Meltdown still at a disadvantage.
Now Meltdown boring their way back into it just a little bit. I think if Vicetone can maybe get a few good shots here on towards Pac-Manius, that could be pretty impressive, but instead he just takes one in himself. And I think Meltdown, they really need to try and use this grill here and try and get a few of those big 750 damage shots on towards TCZ, because even though TCZ do have the hit point advantage at the moment, you know, lots of their tanks, they're not sturdy tanks. One shot from the grill's all it's going to take down that TVP. Pac-Manius isn't too healthy. Roby-1 Kenobi, you know, less than 1k HP. And of course that STRV 103P, it's not a very sturdy tank if you can actually get through it and not just ping off that super sloped top armor.
4 minutes left on the clock. It feels like this game's been going much longer than it actually has, but Meltdown are really staring down the barrel of defeat at this point. Coalition Zoo starting to push up towards the top of that hill, as well as Meltdown, so both these teams going to be spotting each other out relatively shortly. Pink Pig probably gets spotted out first here because Pac-Manius is behind a bush and forces Pink Pig back down below that little ridge to stay safe, but everywhere across the map it seems like Meltdown is just trying to pry their way in somewhere and not getting anything.
Very hard for them to pry their way in anywhere right now, as so many of those bat chats are so close to death. Vicetone there on 671 HP, but at least they're playing this cautiously. Soon they do need to go though, because it's 3 minutes and 25 seconds left, and you can kind of wait, you can feel your way around for a certain amount of time, but there comes a point when you just have to go, and I think that point is nearing now for Meltdown.
It definitely is. Meltdown at the moment is still at that poor position in terms of their tank numbers, their health pool as well, and that timer ticking away relatively quickly. 3 minutes left on the clock, and as you said, that time has almost come for Meltdown to have to make their move.
And right now we can see Momo, he's just hiding in a bush. Doesn't actually have the camo net either, but obviously still does get that advantage from hiding in a bush. and in front of bushes / knockdown trees. As we are going to be seeing Rush and Cry rotating a little bit down, and this could potentially work if they do it fast enough, because TCZ don't currently have anyone watching that southern cross on the railroad. So a little bit of an option if those bat chats rotate through there. But it's looking like instead they might be going through the center of the map.
Well, Momo's going to be putting himself up on the top of that mound, and that's not going to be too great for him. Pink Pig as well has been cleaned up. Both of the tanks up on the hill there from Meltdown getting taken out. Vicetone was the other to go down, and with 1 or 2 minutes rather left on the clock here, it's almost, well, all said and done here for Meltdown. They're just losing tanks across the board, not even really getting any damage in response. A couple of shots finally going to Joke there, but Cry is going to be kind of going down after that next shot, and he does. It's all down to Momo here in that Grill 15. And, well, what can you do in a Grill 15? 1 on 6. The answer is not a lot. Not much, exactly. So it will be Meltdown, surprisingly enough, losing 2 on Prokhorovka here. 2 TZZ. And nice little bit of play there from Crazy to finish it off. Also, I've got to give a shout out to TCZ's camo. It's as good as ever. Of course, same as last season, and it's awful. Hot pink, love it. Hot pink and like bright
If I had
yellow.
a car, I would paint.
I don't think you would.
In that colour.
I really don't think.
Well, put it this way: if I came into possession of a car that was painted that colour, I would still drive it and not repaint it.
All right. Well, you do you, Alex. You do you. I'm not going to fault you for whatever you want to decide to do. But look, Coalition Zoo, no matter the colour of their camouflage, have come out here today and performed quite well against Meltdown, currently up 3-1.
So far.
And moving on to their second map pick of Steps, I mean, they've put themselves in quite a good position here. And I know for sure that Coalition Zoo have got some sneaky STRV strats coming out, or Udes strats coming out.
Yeah, you know for sure.
Well, I mean, look, I've seen them do it before. Whether or not they're going to do it this time,
so you don't know for sure. So you don't know for sure.
I know for sure they have the strats.
Okay.
Whether or not they use it remains to be seen. I suspect, given the success that we've seen from the STRV this time, Madhouse will probably pick up a Udes on Steps.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so.
Well, I think a Udes would make sense on Steps in place of that typical kind of RU251 that you'd see, sitting up and getting the resets down there. Honestly, I think Steps is perfect for the Udes. So. Yeah, with any luck. Does Madhouse normally play the tier 8s?
I've seen him do it before. So I don't see why he couldn't do it again.
It's a possibility.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, though. We'll go back and have a look at the stats there from Prokhorovka before we start to break down
at that.
The steps.
STRV 103B, Mr. Madhouse, 3.5 thousand damage in that one. Very impressive numbers there in the S-Tank for the leader, and also the youngest player in WGL APAC. There, another fun fact for everyone.
That is fun, Alex.
Very fun. Got some pretty crazy hair, of course. Everyone might have seen Madhouse at our Season 1 finals last year. But down the bottom, look at that. Vicetone, mate, what are you doing?
Yeah, again, not having quite a good day. Usually he's up towards the top of the scoreboard there for Meltdown, but
0.
Gotta say, I didn't think he was particularly impressive yesterday either.
No. Like, he didn't look on his usual self yesterday. And, I mean, like, we've seen other people do well in the bat chat, so it's not the bat chat. Vicetone, like,
Vicetone, please.
Solas, mate. But
yeah. Sorry, mate.
Sorry, mate.
Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing in that bat chat? Never mind. Look, to be honest, it hasn't been a great start here for Meltdown, regardless of whichever way you want to paint it, whichever accent you want to use.
What accent was that?
That was my super Ocker Australian accent.
I'm not going to do mine because I normally throw in a few expletives.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid it. That's why
I do that.
That's why it kind of went a little bit dodgy towards the end there. I was trying to think of words that I could use instead of, you know what I mean. But
I know what you mean.
Steps coming up next. Coalition Zoo's second map pick. Meltdown starting off on the defensive side first. So I don't think we'll see Coalition Zoo picking up the S-Tank on the attack. On the defense, I'd be more likely to expect that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, On the attack, I think you're right there. It's on steps, like there's not a great amount of positions where you can put the S-tank on the attack and have it work. Steps, very mobile map. Often we'll see teams rotate around and around and around just to kind of ring around the rosy to each other. So probably not going to be seeing that, I would agree. Something like a grill on the attack, that can work better. I don't mind seeing that one. Even an artillery piece for tier 8. On the attack, we've seen that work last season. Even the likes of EL Gaming have picked the artillery piece sometimes. Something like
EL Gaming also picked 2 Grill 15s on the attack of steps one time. That actually did work, but I wouldn't necessarily advise that to most of the other teams.
I'm personally a big fan on steps of when you get like 2 strong hold down heavy tanks to like lead a slow push in towards that 2 flag and just like sit back a little bit around some of those mounds. Just a little
couple of
bit
T125s maybe.
Yeah, I've seen it work with that before, so
we'll have to wait and see. It's a pretty important couple of rounds coming up here for Meltdown because they got off to a pretty good start yesterday, but in theory, the Coalition Zoo being the 8th place team from last season of WGL APAC, you would expect that Meltdown should be thinking, oh, you know, these are some points that we can get on the board reasonably easily. And if they don't manage to even get any points on the board for this, that's really going to affect their chances of being up towards the top of the standings.
Well, exactly. Yeah, you definitely want to be, want to start off well, particularly when you've got 3 games like I think Meltdown does have this week.
B Gaming is
sorry, B Gaming's the one that has 3 games this week, you're right. But, yeah, I think
Meltdown might as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Either way, it is just about time to head into our next map, I think. Jordan Steps, the wide open map. You've got the dry riverbed on one side, the flag right next to the railway tracks up the north of the map, and a few little rocks across the west to hide between where we often see skirmishes break out. So I think it's time to find out whether you were right, whether we will be seeing any S-tanks or not. Kranwagen is in there for the Coalition Zoo, but nothing else too crazy.
No, not too crazy indeed. An IS-7 coming out for Meltdown on the defense. Don't mind that. 2 Batchat APs though, so no RU-251 to stick up on that boost.
I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a big fan of that at all. Maybe, can you put the Object 140 up there?
I don't think so.
It would be a struggle. They'd need like double boost.
You'd have to probably push it up. You could get it up.
Yeah, but they probably might.
I don't know if it can do the solo boost.
Yeah, bit of a struggle. But TCZ side, look, I like the Kranwagen there. See where it heads out to. So, okay. Right now, as we're getting the rollout happening, do see Coalition Zoo headed out by Crazib in that Kranwagen. I like the fact that they're using him to lead. Fairly fast heavy tank, of course, the Kranwagen.
Reasonably.
And they're actually not going to encounter anyone from Meltdown.
Well, I mean, this is pretty standard sort of a defensive setup here from Meltdown. Evenfall, though, is quite far forward in that Batchat AP, sitting in that little bush there. That's not a bad spot. He can spot that cap quite easily. Now, the thing he has to worry about, though, is whether or not he's going to get spammed out of that position.
Yeah, blind fired exactly in that bush, because as soon as those tanks on TCZ's side notice that he's there, or notice that they're spotted rather, then they can say, okay, well, we must be spotted from one of these kind of 6 bushes. Let's spam every one of them.
Joke does get spotted out there by Evenfall, and looks like Evenfall's actually going to back out, so giving up his position, but they do have the information and allows the IS-7 of Pathfinder to get a pretty free shot into the side of Joke, who will now be making his way onto that flag, but I don't know if he's necessarily going to stay on the flag. He might just continue to push forward and put a bit more pressure on Meltdown.
Nice little ricochet coming there as well, and you're right, there is no boosts coming out there from Meltdown, heading up towards that spawn. Evenfall, not too sure what he's doing, just still scouting out the rest of TCZ as they roll around the flag. Now Crazib here in that Kranwagen in a very, very strong position. Going to be so hard to get through that strong turret of the Kranwagens. I think around about 220 mils of armor at the front.
Might not be a bad time to head on board with Meltdown and see what's going on in their side of the camp as they try to crack this nut that is the Coalition Zoo.
쏠 준비하라. 내가 이거 채운다고 중앙은. 다 걸렸고. 위에 있다. 140 크란방 140도 위에 있어. 140도 위에. 여기 바샷만 있다. 바로 앞에.
매각 쪽 제가 여기까지 질러봄. 여기까지는 일단.
나 스팟.
캡 저지할 수 있어요?
거기 밑에 아무도
저기.
없고. 나이스 한 번 끊었고. 나 한 번은 시야 띄울 수 있을 것 같거든. 1-3 붙는다 내 쪽으로.
없어.
AP
오케이.
용준이 좀 더 여기까지 가봐.
확인. AP 용준이가? 아 내가
오케이 알았어.
안 나오는데.
하고 있어.
열었어,
뛰었다.
안 쏜 거 좀 쏴줘. 안 쏜 거.
나이스.
빼. 왼쪽 빼. 아 살살해 왼쪽 살살해. 조금씩 이렇게 봐.
왼쪽 애들 나올
왼쪽
거
나온다.
같거든.
우리 장전이야. 왼쪽 빼.
궤도.
세발
여기 한
있어, 세발.
카피, 궤도.
어.
뺄게. 나 장전
시간
돌린다.
좀만 벌어줘,
1초
20초만.
떴고 8번. 나 뺀다. 맞아 덮치나.
여기서 라인.
괜찮아 지금.
다시 먹을
좋아,
준비해.
좋아,
다시
지금.
우리 탄
다시
있어?
갈 준비.
Not a bad passenger play coming out there from Meltdown, getting quite a bit of damage across to the Coalition Zoo, and in particular, Joku has got a couple of damaged modules there as well as being on 198 HP, so he's a little worse for wear. Meltdown for their own right, looking pretty healthy with the exception maybe of Evenfall, but I definitely think they've done a good job of wasting a little bit of time of the Coalition Zoo and really putting that pressure on over towards the western side of the map with those back chats.
And some more shots coming out, actually some big shots coming out as well as my Lion, they're getting dropped down to 706 HP.
He's in a bit of trouble here. Vicetone should get the first shot off, and he does. Won't have any troubles with his own tank there. The Vat Chat still surviving for Vicetone. Across the board for the Coalition Zoo, Roby1 Kenobi getting dropped quite low. Pac-Manius in the meanwhile did go down, but Roby1 Kenobi just fell as well. And across the board for the Meltdown guys, just one tank going down, Evenfall. Otherwise, looking reasonably okay for the moment, and I dare say Meltdown should be able to pick up a win here on the first half of Steps.
It's looking like it right now. Should be a fairly simple cleanup there for Meltdown, unless Crazy in the Kranwagen can pull off something miraculous, as we do see a ding on that 113. Cry, though, going to be able to take him out. And overall, TC's out. Yeah, I just don't think they were quite as well coordinated as Meltdown, when Meltdown did try and make that push in. So now just 3 tanks left to mop up for the Meltdown crew. They should be able to do it with ease.
Yeah, Cry going to find another kill there. This Joke going down finally after being on such low HP for such a long time. It's all down to Madhouse and Krazib now, but in reality, Meltdown aren't going to have any issues here closing this one out. I think it's going to be on towards the second half of Steps, the defensive side for the Coalition Zoo, where we're really going to be waiting to see what they'll pull out of the hat for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kranwagen obviously hasn't done super well here for TCZ, and Momo there just about to try and get a few more shots. He does go down, but with Madhouse going down as well, that will be Meltdown getting a little bit closer to TCZ. Evening it up 3-2.
Back to 3-2. Yeah, quite a comfortable win in the end there actually for Meltdown. It didn't look like they were too-phased at all by what Coalition Zoo was throwing at them. And yeah, maybe I would have liked to have seen something like an RU-251 1390 on that lineup for Coalition Zoo if they were going to go for that 2-flag push so that they can get, you know, a little bit of extra camo on that tank that's going to sit on the flag. And, you know, who knows? There was a lot of things maybe that Coalition Zoo could have done differently, but in the end, Meltdown just responded very well to the situation that was presented to them.
Yep, exactly. Well played there by Meltdown to kind of adapt to that. And, you know, we did hear in their comms that they were pretty cool, calm, collected, obviously calling stuff out. You know, we heard go, 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 I think once as well. So, you know, some audible...
maybe they were just talking about you.
Maybe.
Go, my favorite caster. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, I mean, you know, they love me at the Season 1 finals.
Yeah, I think they did. But for the moment, they're going to need to focus in, I think, on the second half here of Steps. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the guys on Coalition Zoo pick up here, because I'm hoping we're going to see a Yudes.
Yeah.
Hoping.
You love your Yudes, don't you, Jordan?
I do. Send me Yudes, Alex. I'd love to see some more.
Any day. But
can I get some Yudes in the chat?
That's probably a bad idea. We'll probably get banned.
No, it'll be worth. All right, well, having a look at the post-battle stats here, Meltdown on the top of pretty much everything there. Only a couple of entries for Coalition Zoo, but again, it's Madhouse and Lion doing the lion's share of the damage.
Yep. pretty good little effort there from Mr. Manhouse with 2,000 damage. Line there in that batch at 1.9k as well. Pathfinder in the IS-7, 1.9k. And overall, some good damage numbers coming out there from Meltdown. And that was much more of the Meltdown that we're used to seeing. You know, there's no Vice Tone down at the bottom with 0 damage, which is just so strange. And Crazy B, look, in the Kranwagen, he hasn't even cracked the 1k mark. He hasn't got more than 2 shots through.
Yeah, well, I mean, just not having the greatest of times so far is the Kranwagen at all throughout our season.
We haven't seen it, have not seen it really do much so far. I think it's safe to say. I mean, 800 damage, you know, and it was alive until almost the end.
Yeah.
So
the S-Tank, I guess, or the tank destroyers have been the pick of the two, really. Like, the heavy tanks that we've seen coming out, the Swedish heavy tanks, haven't been that impressive. But the tank destroyers, almost every single game we've seen it, it has been very effective.
yeah, be really interesting to see the win rate of some of these tanks after the first week. If we can grab that one, I'm sure that obviously so far we haven't had too many games, but the S-Tank looking very, very strong. Kranwagen maybe not so much, but it's good to see actually this season. I think we're already getting a lot more variety in our tank picks than last season, with the S-Tanks added, obviously a bigger tank pool to choose from, and it's not just the default of kind of lots of bat chats like we saw at the start of last season, particularly now that, again, the bat chat AP is a semi-recent change to our competitive format.
Yeah.
It's
Definitely
great to
adding a
see.
bit of variety, which is always nice to see. I mean, we've seen, of course, some player changes as well, which might shuffle the teams around. They want to do some different strategies. Obviously, they'll need some different tanks for that. But yeah, like you said, those new Swedish tanks coming in here are, of course, going to shake the meta up a little bit.
Yeah, 100%, and I can't wait to maybe get back home and keep on grinding out that Swedish tank destroyer tree, because it's looking like from WGL APAC perspective, they're doing pretty well.
All right, well, the moment I've been waiting for, time to figure out what tanks are going to be coming out here for the Coalition Zoo on the defensive side. And there it is.
Yudes.
It's the Yudes.
You've got your Yudes, Jordan.
They've sent me the Yudes. Thank you, Coalition Zoo. I can't wait for to see Madhouse and his Yudes doing some fancy stuff here on steps.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm pretty excited to see it as well. So let's get this one underway. But also, we've got a very funny looking M40 there for Meltdown, which I'm equally excited to see, because I love the M40. And I think on the attacking side on steps, picking that artillery piece, it allows you to kind of break the stalemates that you often see. And an M40 shell landing on the top of an Uds, well, there's not going to be many more Uds after that.
That's the real problem here, I think, for Madhouse. If he does go into the position, which I expect him to, up on that 2-flag boost, that is a position that you could, in theory, get hit by an artillery shell reasonably easily if he's not sitting down in that little dip. So we'll have to see what goes on here. But, you know, he needs to be careful with his positioning. You're right. If it lands on top of the Yudes, he's gone.
See you later.
See you later, indeed.
See you later, and hopefully for his sake, he can actually get that boost the first time as well, because sometimes we do see it, and it's just a little bit, you know, takes a few tries. Even in WGL EU, WGL NA, all regions do it. It's not just an APAC special, failing the boost.
There's a lot of APAC specials.
There are a lot of APAC specials. Who knows? Maybe we might even make some top fails out of it this season.
Let's hope so. I look
lucky.
forward to it. Maybe can we use some from last season? Because there were some good ones.
There were some good ones, actually. Why not? Why not, I think. But I think this season, if you guys do want to stay tuned to any of our top fails, top plays, any of our awesome videos that we make throughout the season, head on over to youtube.com/WGAsiaCG. You can find all of the great stuff on WGL APAC over there. So
definitely a resource that I use a lot. I like to watch myself, so I hope you guys like to watch us.
Yeah.
Do you?
I don't like to watch myself,
Really?
I'll be honest. So, yeah, sorry. But yeah, stay connected.
Maybe you
as
should
well,
just cast
WGL
better.
APAC.
Then you would like to watch yourself.
No, I like to listen to myself.
Oh,
I've got a
okay.
great voice, Jordan.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that what you think? All right. Well, I mean, I guess I'll give you that. It goes all right sometimes. But
Yeah, when you're listening to it at night.
every night when I go to sleep, Alex.
Perfect.
I think about you and your Yudes and your
Yep.
voice, and it
I
just
don't
puts me to
actually
sleep.
have it. Oh, you're talking about the other one. Sorry. Yeah.
Anyway, we have had a player DC. That's the little bit of a downtime here, waiting for that player to reconnect here. So getting ready to get into the second half here on steps. And like I said, I have seen the Coalition Zoo using that Yudes before. What they do is typically in that position where you see the RU251 on that boost, holding off on that 2 flag, getting the easy resets. That is where we expect to see the Yudes coming out here for Madhouse. It can do that boost, and it's very potent in that position as well, because normally you think, okay, there's an RU251 up there, it'll do a little bit of damage, but not that much, it's just there for the resets. But the Yudes can actually do a fairly decent amount of damage, and of course get those resets.
Exactly, that's one of the great things. And look, when you compare it to some of the other Tier 8 tank destroyers, I mean, I know you've got in the British line, you've got the AT8, I think it is. You're not really going to see that in WGL APAC. It's got a decent amount of damage, but the armor is kind of useless when you're playing against Tier 10s. The other British one, Charioteer, excellent damage, but it's paper thin and it's like a barn to shoot at. And we don't generally see too many of the other TDs. Maybe the Scorpion?
Yeah, I think Team Efficiency picked up the Scorpion almost when it was released, or a couple of weeks after it was released. But they've only used that once, maybe twice, and it worked out okay.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
I do like it, but it is probably not nearly as effective as what the Grill 15 is, of course. And I definitely think the other S-Tanks as well, the Yudes, I feel are a little bit more effective than the Scorpion as well. If it gets spotted out, the Scorpion's just going to be deleted off the map.
I love it. I actually love playing against the Scorpion because, you know, I'm often in my TDs kind of sitting around the map, and as soon as you see a Scorpion, just aim in, shoot, and you got free damage. So
it is pretty paper-thin armor. Fun tank to drive, but sometimes a little bit frustrating as well. So, look, I don't expect to be seeing too many Scorpions this season. If we're going to see tank destroyers, it's going to be the Grills, it's going to be the STRVs, the Yudes. We saw an RHM, we saw a WT Alpha PZ4 yesterday, which is the Tier 9, so that was a little bit new as well.
I like that. I didn't mind that. It's got Tier 10 guns, so you know you can choose either the slightly smaller gun. I think it's 128 millimeters, or the 150 millimeter gun on that one. So you can kind of opt for alpha or DPM and penetration. Good little choice. But let's see how this little choice goes for TCZ as they've locked in the Udez 03 Swedish Tier 8 tank destroyer. Madhouse trying for the boost right now. Let's see if he makes it.
He shouldn't have too many difficulties. He can do it in the Yudes, but there you go. Doesn't manage to connect it the first time. He does have plenty of time to get up there, though, because he can see, or we can't see yet, but eventually, very shortly, when his teammates spot out the opposition team, they will know that they're over towards that other side of the map. So Madhouse is quite free to continue attempting to get this boost off.
And I'm not sure if he's going to make it there. That doesn't look like enough speed. But interesting that he's actually going to be rolling with the Binox in the use. I suppose it means that TCZ are happy to commit all of their tanks towards that one flag.
Got it this time. I think the problem last time was that he ran over that tree, and that just dropped his speed by slightly too much. But this time he should have no troubles getting up. The Yude's very adept at climbing.
Yeah.
There you go. He's in position now, or almost in position. Over the other side of the map, though, we might see a bit of a fight starting over. It's Roby-Wan Kenobi just watching those train tracks, and the 113 of Momo 7 pushing his way forward.
Oh yes, this is shaping up to be a pretty big fight, but TCZ are ready for it. The question is, do Meltdown kind of wait to spot out, or do they just try and commit to the blind fight? Looks like they're playing it safe.
Yeah. Don't mind this from Meltdown. The main problem, though, is if they do decide to move over towards that 2 flag, they're going to have to find a way to dislodge Madhouse. And I don't mind seeing Meltdown here playing quite slowly, in all honesty, because obviously, being with that M4043 on their lineup, they're going to try and find a one-shot onto some of these Coalition Zoo members. And those bat chats are definitely within striking distance of that M4043, so they'll need to be very careful if they get spotted. There's a shot, 713 damage into Krazib from that M4043. A good start to the round for Meltdown.
Yeah, great little shot there on towards Krazib. I think Meltdown, they're pretty content just doing that. Those 113's going to be hard to get through the turrets of those as they're just poking around the map. We've got Evenfall at the back as well, so this plays into the M40's hands as well. Like you were saying, you could just keep on spamming out those shots, but I think TCZ, they don't want that to happen, so they're initiating the fight.
They certainly are. Momo 7 is going to be the option of choice. Someone's had an ammo rack there, but Joke, I think it was, repairing his ammo rack there. Pacmanius has a damaged gunner and driver. but in the end, Momo still managing to survive here for Meltdown. This has been a failed push from the Coalition Zoo. They have lost so much HP, and they haven't done so much over to Meltdown.
Oh,
Roby
what's he doing?
Well, he's got nothing else that he can do. He has to continue forward here, try and get the damage out. Pathfinder should probably go down here for the Coalition Zoo, and this is time where they can kind of redeem themselves. It's a 2-for-1 trade, but in saying that, now it's a 2-for-2, and Roby Kenobi is a one-shot as well.
Yeah, Roby is not looking too healthy after that, but Meltdown, looks like some of their batches were just reloading at that point, so trying to get the clips back into the canisters. There's Joke now getting around the corner, poking up towards Vicetone, and we do see Madhouse, he's not really contributing to this at all, and now he's made them good move. He switched from siege mode into travel mode. He's coming to the battle.
He is coming into the battle, but he needs to get there quickly because, well, things are not going so well for the Coalition Zoo at the moment. Meltdown with obviously that tank advantage, the health advantage as well, a massive HP advantage, in fact, and just 3 tanks left alive here for TCZ. This strategy with the Yudes, as much as I hyped it up, it hasn't worked out. Meltdown just decided to go to the other side of the map, and, well, Madhouse didn't have any impact at all on this game.
Exactly. He's done absolutely nothing. I think it's a total of 0 damage so far, which is very disappointing. I think, you know, if Meltdown had pushed towards that 2 flag, then yes, could have worked out very, very well. But I mean, the best way to kind of counter that Yudes is to ignore it, and he's pretending he's an artillery piece at the moment. So some of the pieces of the Yudes when it was designed, or some of the pieces of the Kranwagen rather when it was designed, actually were used in SPGs made by the Swedish Army.
Interesting. Thanks for that. Go Gadget factoid.
Yep.
So 2 wins on steps there from Meltdown to, I guess, counter the 2 wins on Prokhorovka from Coalition Zoo, and we find ourselves back at 3 apiece.
Back at 3 apiece. Okay, evening it up now. It looks like Meltdown are very much getting their footing now. They're playing smart. They're kind of adapting now to TCZ's playstyle. They see the Yudes. They know what it's gonna do. Very, very smart defensive setup there near the rail tracks. They baited TCZ in towards them. With that artillery piece, sort of with those bat chats that were kind of teasing out the front. They had their backup, not really spotted just yet. TCZ pulled the trigger, it was a little bit too early, and the Yudes did nothing.
Yeah, I think they must have been a little bit too scared of that M4043. They didn't want to take any damage from that tank, but unfortunately, they did opt to go for the aggressive strategy, which didn't work out, as we know, and kind of giving Meltdown a good opportunity to get back into this series. It looked great for Coalition Zoo for a moment there at 3-1, but now back to 3-3 with Mines to play. Meltdown's pick. Some troublesome times perhaps ahead here for the Coalition Zoo.
Yes, troublesome times indeed. Mines, not really one of the maps where we see kind of TCZ doing blisteringly well. But anyways, let's take a look at how well they did in terms of the damage stats last time. And, well, the answer's not very well. Only Joke and Roby Kenobi on there in positions 5 and 7 for TCZ. But look at that Vicetone back up near the top in that bat chat. That's where we're used to seeing him. That's how he got his name, Mr. Bat Chat. And just some general all-around solid play from most of Meltdown.
Yeah, pretty much. And on the other side of the scoreboard, there's Krazib in the 113 on 0. Madhouse also, we know, didn't have any effect on that battle. So essentially 2 of your tanks not doing anything. It's not good at all.
And even the M40 got a couple of shots off, 713 damage. I mean, you can't really complain about that, I guess. So well played to even fall in that one. And I really like seeing the M40. I think it is definitely a better arty than the Lorraine in these sort of scenarios. It just creates more pressure, and half of the reason of picking an arty is just to create pressure, you know, to be worried about having that shell come down and hit you. And with an M40, particularly when you're playing bat chats or even the Yudes, you know, you don't want that shell to hit you. So.
No. So having a look towards Mines here, it is Meltdown's pick. It is another map which I've seen Coalition Zoo using those S-tanks on, so I would not be surprised to see it coming out here again. But look...
reckon E100s?
Probably not. I don't think we'll see E100s here on Mines. If we're going to see any heavy tanks, maybe a Kranwagen again, 113s of course, probably FE215B might not be too bad either, but I don't think we're going to be seeing an E100.
No, I think that's a pretty safe bet. No E100s here on Mines, but I mean, we've seen crazy before. We've seen Mausers Picked by B Gaming, but
That's more of a pocket strat, though. I don't think Coalition Zoo, I mean, even though they do like the E100, don't tend to pick it on mines.
I agree. It would be fun to see like 6 E100s on mines, though.
Unlikely as it is, it would be fun to see.
You know what would be even more fun? Like 6 Jagdpanzer E100s.
I don't think that would be that fun for the people driving the Jagdpanzer E100s.
Why not?
Because it would be bad. That's why. It would be bad.
Wouldn't be that bad. You just shoot people and they die.
It would be bad. I guarantee you it would not work.
I need to get myself a WGL team so I can tell them what to do. And
Well,
tell them to pick
good luck
Jagdpanzer
with that.
E100s.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Any takers? PM me at GoGurgicast on Twitter.
I don't hear any. Can't see any either.
There'll be plenty. I've got plenty of fans.
No, you don't. Apart from the fans in the studio at the moment, because it's very hot in here.
Yes.
Love and life in Sydney.
Nice and toasty. It was actually, I think, the hottest day on record, or the hottest minimum night on record last night in Sydney. So we've been keeping not only the tanking action hot, but the general weather action has been quite hot.
I'm always
here as
hot,
well.
Alex. Even when I'm cold, I'm still hot.
I wasn't talking about you, Jordan.
Well, I was.
Why do you always make this about you?
Because I'm the more important caster of our duo.
No, you're not, mate.
Well,
But anyways, I think it is time to stop waffling on and start thinking about our next map in a little bit more detail. Mines, of course. Let's talk about Meltdown on Mines, because they're a team which you don't really think of when you think of Mines. You think of B Gaming, maybe EL Gaming on Mines. Meltdown, obviously, it's a little bit more of an open map. They aren't too bad at it from memory. From their Season 1 stats, it's kind of so-so.
okay, but not great. From their Season 1 stats, it was a 50% win rate overall.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
Much
very
of a
mediocre.
muchness for Meltdown. It wasn't a map that they picked all that much. They vetoed it actually a fair bit. So we'll see how they go here on Mines. But again, Meltdown's such a different roster. We can't draw too many conclusions from the stats from last season. I think, given the fact that they've picked the map of Mines this time, they should be feeling pretty confident going into this one off the back of those 2 wins on steps.
Yeah, well, I'd agree with that. I think they've found their groove now. Meltdown have, and coming up against TCZ here on Mines, do you think they might pick an artillery piece?
TCZ?
No, Meltdown. Well, they just picked it on steps.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'd love to see an M40.
Yeah, I think of the two, of the Lorraine and the M40, I'd probably prefer to see an M40 43 here on Mines.
Speaking of Mines, here we are. Of course, the hill is the central point of control that most teams will be trying to go for here on Mines. Once you get the hill, and well, it's the usual stuff. You can gain a lot of control on the map and gain a great little positional advantage. But here we are, the picks are in, and they are going to be picking an M40, M43 on the Meltdown side. They've got the Griller as well. And TCZ, something a little bit more standard, Jordan. Just the bat chats, WZ111, a couple of TVPs for some deeps, and the 113.
Yeah, so Meltdown with the defensive artillery. More often than not, I feel like we see the artillery on the attacking side, but of course it can work on the defense here of Mines as well.
And there we go. So I'm liking those picks for Meltdown. And it'll be interesting to see where they roll out to, whether they do decide to contest the hill. It's looking like they are not going to, however, but TCZ getting right up on the hill and taking that nice and early on.
Well, Coalition Zoo pretty much know that the hill's going to be free here. Meltdown have got, 4 bat chats, but Coalition Zoo have got a couple of TVPs, a couple of bat chats, a bat chat AP. They just have a bit more of that hill fighting lineup on the Coalition Zoo, whereas Meltdown here, they've got the Grill 15, they've got the M40-43, they want to play that long game, try and get the poke out across to their opponents, and that's a good start there. Joke losing his tracks and his gun.
Yeah, nicely played by the shooter there. So
it might have been the M40-43 getting a bit of a splash.
Might have been, and it's actually interesting positioning for the M40, M43 as well, even for, normally you might see an M40, M43 in K8 in like a random game, maybe K9, just behind those, tucked behind those houses. But I really love this aggressive positioning, because as soon as an artie's positioned sort of differently to what you're used to seeing it forces you to think differently, because all of those angles that you're normally safe from when you're playing random games, suddenly they're not safe. You're not safe behind a certain rock. You're not safe behind a certain house. And it really keeps you on your toes. So good little bit of positioning play there from Evenfort. Looks like Lion might be trying to go for the boost here in this bat chat.
Yeah, he did once and didn't manage to get up that first time, so he's going to have another crack at it. See whether or not he's going to be able to do it. The Lion does look pretty good. Yep, he's just got it. So, good little boost from Lion, but Madhouse in the meanwhile has just been absolutely demolished. I don't even know where he was. He got spotted out, that's for sure. And things did not go well for him in the end.
Not looking great. And yeah, he just got completely obliterated. I'm not sure where from, but yeah, there you go. So Lion is going to be able to make it up the hill, though. So a little bit of a consolation prize for TCZ.
He was a bit aggressive as he just got up that boost, tried to push a little bit forward earlier than we would expect. Pathfinder forcing him back, and now Lion has climbed all the way up to the top of that hill. So Coalition Zoo, they've got that player on the boost, which is always so crucial here on Mines, but having lost the TVP straight off the bat of Madhouse, who has been a very good player for them throughout this series, that's a bit of a worry. Roby as well taking some damage there, and Meltdown all of a sudden off to a great start.
Yeah, well played. And we can see now that Mr. Pathfinder in the center of the map is coming up and has been spotted by TCZ. So it's got to be a little bit careful there. Of course, Pathfinder in that 113, a little bit sturdier. But Lion in the meantime as well, getting a few spots across from up in that hill.
Does need to be a little bit careful with what he's doing up on that hill. It's not impossible to hit the hill with the M4043, depending on where Lion is actually holding. So we'll see whether or not that's going to affect him at all.
It's looking like at the moment Lion is pretty happy, maybe just getting the reload happening, something like that. Pac-Manius in the TVP, just poking out a little bit.
Does get spotted. Has to fall back. I think he's being proxy spotted there by Pathfinder. 113 of the Coalition Zoo taking a little bit of damage again. This is exactly what Meltdown need to be doing. They've got that poke-oriented lineup, the Grill 15. They've got the M4043 every now and then, getting a bit of extra damage over to the Coalition Zoo. That's always going to be working in their favor.
Yeah, that's right. And we can see that 113 there just being nice and safe up on the hill. Shots that hit that turret aren't going to be able to do too much on towards that one, but with 6 minutes just ticking by, Coalition Zoo might have to start getting a little bit more aggressive soon. They haven't really made any moves to any flags, as is the standard on Mines. Usually we do see victories go by destruction of vehicles rather than flag caps.
Yeah, it's such a small map that it's very hard to get a flag cap going on. You can't defend it. There's so many angles that you can hit those flags and so many angles that players can get into in such a short amount of time that, yeah, like I said, those flag captures are incredibly difficult to get here on Mines.
Yeah, and actually, I really like just taking a look here. These bat chats down the bottom of the kind of H1, H2 area by Meltdown side, as soon as they want, they can just push up through there and try and get a flank towards these heavy tanks on towards the hill. But look at what TCZ has done. They've got their bad chat AP waiting at the back there, ready to cut them off, ready to spot them and give the early warning that Meltdown need, that TCZ need.
Yeah, I imagine that's Roby-1 Kenobi. Yeah, it is, up towards the top there. He's obviously a little bit lower than the other guys. And oh, Lion, he gets tracked for a second there, but repairs it straight away. Still, he takes a couple of shots, and yeah, that's not so great for him. But back to my original point, Roby-1 Kenobi, the guy that doesn't have as much HP, he's sitting back towards the battle, acting as a bit more of a spotter, so that you know, he can be a little bit safer there. But across the board, you know, Coalition Zoo just bleeding free damage over to Meltdown throughout this entire map so far.
Yeah. It's not great. You just cannot afford just to give free shots away. And look, that boost, honestly, I feel as though as soon as you get spotted once on the boost, and as soon as you know that some of the enemy tanks are aiming at you, which obviously we can see here, Lion knows as well because he's taken a fair few shots. I just feel the boost value is greatly diminished because it's just another point that on the map at that point, it's not surprising. You know, it's not you're not going to take anyone by surprise. It's just another point where you can get poked from, and you know, lots more stuff can shoot you when you're on the boost as well. You know, the Grill can shoot you, the Batchat can shoot you, Vice Tone can shoot you here as well.
Yeah, but in saying that, I do feel like the worth of the boost is not necessarily just as sort of like a secret weapon. I think due to the virtue of the fact that those Meltdown tanks are actually aiming at Lion up on that boost, it does allow the other Coalition Zoo players a little bit more freedom to peek in and out, maybe a little bit safer. We know for sure Vicetone is just watching that angle, but the Grill 15 is going to have in the back of his mind, you know, there could be a Batchat up on that boost. Maybe I need to take a shot at him. So it does free up the rest of the map a little bit for the Coalition Zoo and creates a lot of pressure. But there you go, Evenfall in that M4043. Like I said, can hit the hill if Lion positions improperly. And I guess the trade out comes there for the Coalition Zoo. But overall, you'd probably be pretty happy with that. M4043 for Batchat, I would take that any day.
Absolutely.
Especially a Batchat on the boost.
Yeah, especially a Batchat on the boost. So good little trade there for Meltdown. And it's just going to make it that much harder for TCZ to push through, particularly now that they do not have that boost advantage. Are they going to be... No, they're not trying for another one because Pac-Manius is in a TVP. He's not going to be able to get up there.
I think the TVP might actually be able to do it.
Yeah, you reckon? You've got to be pretty good if you
the Grill can do it.
TVP. But overall, looks like to be a one flag attempt here from TCZ. Pushing out towards that one. Roby1 Kenobi might be joining the fight soon as well. He needs to because TCZ are down 2 tanks right now.
Well, there's only 2 minutes left on that clock, so it's almost too little too late here for the Coalition Zoo. They're going to be pushing into an almost full-strength Meltdown lineup, who are quite content with how things have been going so far here on Mines. So Coalition Zoo, if they pull something out of the hat here, they're going to be thanking their lucky stars. It would be somewhat of a miracle, if you ask me.
Yeah, potentially. And look at these guys. They've just been spotted right away. That's not great. And Pac-Manius, look, he's going to be trying to spam across those shots. I don't think he hit them all. And that is costly for TCZ.
Yeah, Vicetone just getting a bunch of free damage out there. He will take a shot to the track, I think, as he crossed there. But overall, he's quite happy with how things have gone so far. Joke very low on HP. The 113 for Coalition Zoo very low. Roby1 Kenobi very low. And really, I think I could go down the entire list of Coalition Zoo players saying that exact same statement because things have not worked out too well for them at all. Meltdown have just played the long game, and they've played it well.
Yep, very, very well played there by Meltdown. And look, TCZ, they're going to be trying to get on the flag cap, but Pac-Manius soon realised that was a fruitless endeavour. And the Pathfinder here in this 113 is going to be going down pretty soon as well. The clock ticks past 1 minute, and Meltdown still with 6 tanks alive. This has very much been a one-sided start to Mines here. And I think TCZ, they're going to be going back to the drawing board a little bit for their next half. They're going to need to do a lot better than that.
Well, it's never going to be easy to pick up a win when one of your top tier 10 TVP gets eliminated off the battlefield pretty much right at the start of the battle there. So it wasn't great from the beginning for Coalition Zoo.
No, not great at all. So TCZ, hopefully they can come back and kind of stay cool in that one because, of course, that then makes a score 4-3.
It does.
So they can't lose another one, otherwise they've lost it out. They haven't even got to a tiebreak. I think if you're TCZ right now, look, your first focus has got to be trying to get that tiebreak because, of course, tiebreaks, for those that don't know, they do grant both teams a minimum of 1 point. So even if you lose a tiebreak, you get a point. If you win a tiebreak, you only get 2 points instead of the regular 3 that you get from winning a regular match without going to a tiebreaker. So TCC, that's got to be their first goal, drawing this out to a tiebreaker now, trying to pull through in the second half of Mines. And look, I think they can do it on the defense. Very, very different styles of playing. Defense on the attack of Mines. Defense, you can be a lot more static. I feel as though TCC, that's where they kind of do pretty well on those static sort of maps with that play style. So we'll see how they go.
I think they might have a bit of a better chance here of using that STRV. I've seen Madhouse do it before, sits himself pretty much where that M4043 was last round and put some shells out. But, you know, maybe he doesn't want to continue being that sort of one-trick pony almost where he's just using the Swedish tank destroyers all night. But, yeah, here on Mines, it's a crucial one for Coalition Zoo. But before we get into that, let's have a look first at the post-battle stats of that first half.
Yeah, there we go. So again, we see Mr. Batchat, Vicetone up the top there, number 4, 2.2 thousand damage. Cry's been doing pretty well in the later stages of tonight as well. And his Batchat, 3.6k. And on the TCZ side, unfortunately, nothing quite so impressive. Joke managed to hold a candle up to the Meltdown guys, but Obi-Wan Kenobi the next up, and look at that, Madhouse 0 damage dealt in that TVP. Lion in his batch at only 370 damage, so not a great little side there from Lion either.
No, typically the player that we see up on the boost is the one that gets the most damage out, but
Yeah.
Lion didn't make use of that. He got really pressured out of the positions that he wanted to be in by those Meltdown players. It was good work from the guys on the ground from Meltdown just to force him back and ease the pressure on their lineup.
Yep, there we go. So, Meltdown right now, well, they've got to be really aiming to close this one out 5-3 and secure those 3 points for the standings. I'm sure they would love to end this week with 2 wins under their belt. And TCZ, again, you know, they were kind of really low on the ladder last season. They've just scraped into this season. I think it would be really nice for them if they could pull this back through to a tiebreaker and then end up winning. So they're no doubt going to be trying everything they can as well to start off the season well.
Yeah, well, especially the start that they had, Coalition Zoo would probably be feeling like they were in with a really good chance of actually picking up a win here. But at the moment, it's not looking like that's the case. 3 rounds in a row for Meltdown. You know, you got to really think that Meltdown should be able to close this one out. It feels like they've got the momentum and they're just feeling it at the moment.
And it's a shame because we called 5-2.
Yeah.
So if Meltdown win this one, it will be a 5-3 victory to Meltdown. So I did say that it could be 5-3 if Nomad plays for TCZ, but he hasn't really been playing.
No, he hasn't.
So he's not on the roster for tonight. I know sometimes these teams, they do even like to, particularly like B-Gaming and Karen Tiger, like to swap out players in between matches, like with subs sometimes, but we haven't really seen that tonight at all. Maybe if one player is a little bit more comfortable, you know, playing a certain tank on a certain map, they might do that.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of tanks, I think it's time to find out what we're going to be seeing here on the second half of Mines. There is not going to be an S-tank coming out from the Coalition Zoo, just the 113s, the Batchats. Could be a bit of a hill fight coming out here. TVPs and Batchats on the Meltdown side. I'd love to see it.
I'd love to see it as well. And taking a look at those tank picks, it's definitely kind of edging towards that. The only thing is TCZ with those 3 113s. I mean, yes, it's a fast, heavy tank. Plays a lot more like a medium, but it's still not quite as fast as the TVPs or the Batchat. So you know, whether they decide to go hill, it's up to them. Okay, and here we are, of course, Mines. You can see that hill right in the center of the map. That's the one that these teams may very well be gunning for right off the gun. So let's find out what they do.
Well, it does look like both teams are headed in that direction, although Coalition Zoo might just be wrapping around the side. Not sure at the moment. Actually, they've slowed down here, so they are going to allow Meltdown to make their way up there. The 113s will be allowed to go ahead of those Batchats of Coalition Zoo, which is a good idea. Obviously, Coalition Zoo would rather the shells be headed in the direction of the 113s than their DPS machine Batchats, who are going to cross quite safely. Krazib takes a fair bit of damage, but these Batchats might be able to get in here onto Meltdown and deal some damage. Pac-Manius gets absolutely demolished straight off the bat. Pink Pig picking up that kill, but have a look at this. My Lion is going to go down as well. Madhouse at least able to trade one back, but I think this is well and truly in the favor of Meltdown for the moment. Obi-Wan Kenobi should go down from one more shot from Rush, and does. And that is going to be pretty much all she wrote, I think, here for the Coalition Zoo. Only 4 tanks left. Meltdown, yeah, their Batchat's probably going to be on the reload here. Maybe the TVPs even as well, but I think they've done enough damage here that they're not going to be too worried by whatever the Coalition Zoo can throw at them in this period of downtime.
Excellent bit of focus fire coming out there from Meltdown. They were able to call their targets very effectively, just obliterated Pac-Manius to start off with. And, well, unfortunately for TCZ, they just took too much damage getting up to the hill there. And, well, they do get one more as a bit of a consolation prize, but I think Madhouse is probably going to be going down very soon as well. He's 1 shell from death. Joke is going to be the next focus for Meltdown. And they should be able to close this one out, Jordan, at 5-3.
It's been a good start to the second season of WGL APAC here for Meltdown. 2 wins in a row, 6 points on the board, and they'll be very happy with how things have gone so far. So well done to the guys on Meltdown. Good signs from the Coalition Zoo early on in the piece there, but they just weren't able to convert.
No. Bit disappointing there for TCZ. I mean, they did give it a good try. Like you said, early on some of those maps, they were looking pretty good. You know, Himmels, even on Proc, not too bad, but there you go, Meltdown, just the stronger team tonight, and ending it with a very, very solid push. And look, strange that TCZ would do what they did there and go for the very delayed push up the hill, because it's very rare that you see the second team to the hill actually you know, come out on top of the brawl. You know, if they get there at the same time, it's kind of, you know, whoever has the best target calling.
Yeah.
But by the time TCC got up the hill, there was already a few tanks from Meltdown. The WZ-111 and one of the Bat Chats just sitting down a little bit, cross-firing them from the corner. You know, some of the 113s from TCZ, they didn't know where to look, whether they looked down the hill, up the hill, they didn't know who to focus. It's a little bit of a shambles there from TCZ. So well played by Meltdown, and a well-deserved win in that one.
Yeah, another one on the board for them, so they're going to be happy with things. As I've said, Coalition Zoo, look, we came into this one expecting the Meltdown to win. I think Coalition Zoo have probably done a little better than I would have expected. They looked a bit better than I expected. So they've had a good day in comparison to what we might have expected from them. But having a look at the post-battle stats there on Mines, it is going to be pretty much the majority of Meltdown up towards the top 7 there, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, nothing too surprising there, like you said. TVP up the top, Pathfinder. He's been doing pretty well tonight, but Vicetone again. Vicetone, strange that he's kind of been hot and cold tonight. Started off very much lukewarm, but he's really come back into it, getting lots of games above 2,000 damage dealt in his Bat Chat. Kind of cementing his title as Mr. Bat Chat as the night's going on. But yeah, look at that, 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th place damage going across to Team Coalition Zoo.
Yeah.
So not
what you want to be seeing. Pac-Manius didn't even fire a shot before he got taken down. So that's yeah, not great. But that's the way the cookie crumbled for the Coalition Zoo.
That's why the tanks fall off. The tracks fall off even.
Maybe that is the way the tanks fall off. If we're talking about APAC, they do tend to fall off places every now and then. Bit funny to see. Hopefully we get to see some of them in our fail compilations throughout this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there we go. Meltdown taking out the win there over TCZ. And I think then the new kind of adapted Meltdown roster is looking pretty strong. I think it's definitely stronger than last season's Meltdown. How much by? I'm not too sure. They've got to get a little bit more of a foothold and get a little bit more comfortable. But it seems like once they're warmed up, you know, once they're on point, they're looking pretty good.
I'm not so sure if I would go so far as to say they're stronger just yet. Obviously, they've had some good performances to start things off, but I want to see a little bit more of the Meltdown before I really make my judgment. But that's going to be it from us for the first series here of week number 1, day number 2. Meltdown defeating Coalition Zoo 5-3, but stay tuned. In about 10 minutes, we're going to have our next match coming up. It is going to be Dark Wolves up against Karen Tiger. We'll see you in a sec.